Chapter 208. That chubby little guy looked like a pig, but it might not be a pig. But it was definitely not a tiger. Therefore, when the sect leader summoned it, Li Luoqiu felt like her intelligence was being insulted. "Senior brother, is this little thing a pig? It looks like one. Although I have never seen a tiger, I know it should be similar to a cat." The disciples started to discuss. Jun Changshao, who took the gate palm ball by mistake, felt extremely embarrassed. He just wanted to act cool. Why was it so difficult? "Go back!" Jun Changshao shouted at Peppa Boar. Whoosh! The Tai Chi pattern on the gate palm ball flashed and instantly sucked the chubby little guy into it. "Look carefully." Jun Changshao took out another gate palm ball and said, "This time, it is a real purple lightning tiger cub." Swish! He suddenly waved it and said, "Come out, purple lightning tiger cub." Li Luoqiu rolled her eyes at him. The disciples, who were originally very excited, suddenly lost their interest because the sect leader summoned a pig. Bang! The gate palm ball shot out light. Roar! The majestic and mighty purple lightning tiger cub stood on the training field and roared. Purple lightning exploded around its body, and its acting cool instantly increased. Li Luoqiu and the other disciples, who did not take it seriously at first, gradually widened their eyes and mouths when they saw the fierce beast that was almost 10 feet tall. Purple stripes, a bloody mouth, and sharp teeth. This was definitely a tiger beast. Oh my God! It really is a thunder tiger beast. So mighty. The disciples were shocked, and the worship in their eyes became even stronger. Swish! Jun Changshao strode over and rode on the purple lightning tiger cub, giving Li Luoqiu a side attack, and said with a smile, "My contract beast is not bad, right?" Summoning the purple lightning tiger cub made him very embarrassed. Fortunately, the purple lightning tiger cub saved his face, and he still acted cool with a little regret. Night came. After cultivating for a period of time, Jun Changshao sat down in his study and began to seriously consider the future. Acting tough was nothing more than adding some spice to his boring life. What he really needed to consider was how to make his sect stronger. Furthermore, there were only 9 months left before he went to challenge the Sacred Spring Sect. Can Qingyang and the others break through to Martial Master? Jun Changshao murmured. In his opinion, if the Hao Qi sect had Martial Master level disciples, the Sacred Spring Sect would certainly have a lot of them, and their levels would not be low either. Right now, Jun Changshao muttered, it's better to let them break through to Martial Master and become stronger. Furthermore, if he wanted to raise his realm, he couldn't lack experience. Even if he was provided with resources, he was still a flower that grew in a greenhouse. He would not be able to withstand the ravages of the storm and had to undergo life and death experiences. Jun Changshao had such an idea because of the coldness and decisiveness displayed by the disciples after they came out of Death Valley and killed the disciples of Black Eagle Hall. Not bad. The system said, the strength of martial arts cannot be lacking in resources and experience. Jun Changshao murmured, therefore, how to obtain more resources and how to let them gain experience is the most important thing. In terms of resources, he could rely on the medicinal herbs cultivated by Elder Wei, because the quality was higher than the ones on the market. The high-quality medicinal herbs sent by the AI family will take 2 months to become useful. It should be soon. As for experience, Jun Changshao held his chin and said, I can let the disciples organize their own groups and go to the wild or dangerous places to gain experience. The system said, fighting with the fierce beasts can only increase their ruthlessness. Fighting with the martial artists can increase their overall strength. That makes sense. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, I can let them participate in more competitions and fight with powerful martial arts to improve their combat ability. No need to go through so much trouble. The system said, there is a product called the Sect's Experience Tower in the mall. The host and disciples can train at home without leaving the house. Sect's Experience Tower. Jun Changshao was startled, and said, "Is it easy to farm?" The system said, after the sect construction reaches level 3, in theory, it is easier to spawn compared to sniper rifles and divine rank martial arts. After hearing this, Jun Changshao rolled his eyes. He had refreshed dozens of times in Death Valley, and even the divine rank ice attribute martial arts were spawned, but he did not see the Sect's Experience Tower. And it still had the nerve to say that it was easier to farm than divine rank martial arts. The system was speechless. The divine rank martial arts that are even harder to farm than the Experience Tower have been spawned. What is the host dissatisfied with? That's right. Jun Changshao was startled. What am I dissatisfied with? Schwa. He opened the data panel and clicked on the beginner's mall. After the luck value increased to 1 point, he had the idea of respawning again. This time, it gave him a legitimate reason. Xiao. He pulled down the mall and a new product appeared. Jun Changshao immediately saw a product called Universal Extended Magazine in the first row. Clicking on the details, it was introduced as a firearm that could increase the capacity of bullets, and the price was only 20 contribution points. This thing is not bad. Jun Changshao bought 2. Continuing to look at the products in the mall, he found a defensive martial arts called Seal Barrier. The quality of this skill was at the beginner stage of high grade. After forming a seal, one would use spiritual energy to form a defensive barrier in front of the body, and the price was 50 contribution points. The sect did not have any defensive martial arts, so Jun Changshao bought it without hesitation and copied 1,000 copies. Ding! Detected that the host has purchased a defensive martial arts from the mall, automatically matching it with the sect's martial arts. Currently, the sect's martial arts that Iron Bone could allow disciples to cultivate were Yi Jin Jing, Self-Chop, Rupturing Fist, Mountain-Splitting Palm, and Barrier. Including the difficult-to-cultivate Ling Jian Divine Technique and Drizzle Building's Ghost Leap. Mental cultivation, movement, sword, palm, fist, spiritual energy martial arts, and defensive martial arts were all available. These could not be compared to the dozens and hundreds of mental cultivation methods available in the big sects, but because most of them were system-type martial arts, one of them could replace many of them. With an extra point of luck, the refreshed products are indeed different. Jun Changshao grinned and continued to scroll down the mall. In the end, he cried. Because he refreshed 4 times in a row and spent 80 contribution points, not a single useful item was refreshed. What's the use of this 1 point of luck? Jun Changshao was furious, but he still refreshed it again. After the refreshed products, the first product that caught his eye had a small pagoda engraved on it, and below it were the words Sect's Training Pagoda. Ha ha ha. It was finally refreshed. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the details, and the content was item, Sect's Training Pagoda Introduction, a cultivation pagoda for martial artists to train, has a total of 9 floors, and each floor has a corresponding training feature. The higher the level of the sect, the higher the difficulty of the training. Advantage, suitable for sect members to enter for training, can undergo comprehensive martial arts training. Disadvantage, those who enter the training pagoda will begin the training in the form of a soul. If they fail, they will not die, but will be weakened for a period of time. Price, 200 contribution points. Ding! The host has spent 200 contribution points, obtained Sect's Training Pagoda X1, has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 303-1000. Chapter 209. After spending a few hundred contribution points, Jun Changshao refreshed the Sect's Tower of Trials. Although the price was high, there were still the expanded magazine and defensive techniques. These 2 items alone would cost at least a few hundred contribution points. When sect leader Jun thought about it, he immediately felt that it was worth it. Since he had what he wanted, he would definitely take it out. The system said, the Tower of Trials is similar to a normal 9-story tower, so it is recommended that the host place it in an open area. Oh. Jun Changshao began to think about where to place it. In the end, he decided on the back mountain. Since it was going to be developed sooner or later, it was quite suitable to place the Tower of Trials there. The next day, Jun Changshao arrived at the back mountain early in the morning and found a more ideal location to take out the Tower of Trials. The 9-story tower was very exquisite. However, sect leader Jun was speechless. This is what you mean by similar to a normal 9-story tower. The system said, if you place it on the ground, it will activate its normal form. Oh. Jun Changshao placed the small tower on the ground and moved away from it. After a while, the Tower of Trials shook slightly. Every floor and every entrance of the tower had a stream of light lingering around it, and then it quickly enlarged. After a while, a 20-meter wide and 100-meter long 9-story tower appeared in their field of vision. Damn! Jun Changshao looked up and exclaimed, it's so tall. Eh? Look, what's that? It looks like a tower. Strange, it wasn't here yesterday. Why is it here all of a sudden? When they arrived at the outer courtyard, the disciples who were preparing for their morning exercises realized that there was a straight Tower of Trials behind the main hall. Second senior brother. Su Xiaomo was stunned. Did you find a craftsman to build this? No. Li Qingyang was also dumbfounded. Let's go and take a look. The disciples didn't do their morning exercises. Instead, they swarmed into the back mountain and finally stood in front of the majestic Tower of Trials. Feeling the heavy aura, Yi Xingchen was shocked. This tower is a treasure. As expected of the Night Emperor, a professional. The door of the Tower of Trials was tightly shut. There were lines drawn on the door, which looked very mysterious and strange. Swish! At this moment, the first level of the tower lit up, and a deep voice sounded, Jun Changshao challenges the first level of the Tower of Trials. The sect leader went in. The disciples hurriedly raised their heads, hoping to see the sect leader from the window on the first floor. However, all they could see was a flash of light, and nothing could be seen. Tower of Trials. Yi Xingchen thought to himself, could it be that it's similar to the training grounds of the large sects that can provide experience for their disciples? Not bad. There was such a meaning. Lu Qianqian also came. She leaned against the tree and thought, could it be similar to Taishian Xingzong's extreme cold experiential training formation? Because they couldn't see the situation inside the pagoda, the disciples could only wait outside. About an hour later, the light in the tower weakened, and the deep voice sounded again, Jun Changshao, challenge successful. Mighty sect leader. Mighty sect leader. Although the disciples did not know what the sect leader was challenging, as long as he succeeded, they would definitely cheer for him. Creak. At this moment, the tightly shut door of the pagoda opened. Jun Changshao held the door and walked out with trembling legs. The expression on his face was extremely interesting. Xiao Ziji hurriedly ran over and helped him up, sect leader, are you okay? Jun Changshao raised his hand and wiped the sweat off his forehead. The corner of his mouth twitched as he said, really, really fucking awesome. Sect leader. Su Xiaomo leaned over and asked, what is this pagoda? You want to know? Jun Changshao said weakly, you can go in and take a look. Can we go in? Su Xiaomo was overjoyed and slipped into the pagoda before the door closed. Li Qingyang, Li Fei, and Tian Qi followed closely behind. After all, the words, Tower of Trials, were too attractive. Yi Xingchen and Lu Qianqian thought for a while and followed in. Sect leader. After helping the sect leader to the stone, Xiao Ziji scratched his head and said, I'm going in too. Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, go in, go in. Swoosh. Xiao Ziji ran in quickly, afraid that there would be no place for him if he was late. Li Luoqiu walked over and said with interest, "This Tower of Trials doesn't seem to be simple." "It's not simple at all." Jun Changshao panted. Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "Sect leader went in and was trained to this extent. I'm afraid it will be even more tragic if they go in." Jun Changshao said, Tower of Trials, if they don't train hard, then it's meaningless." Li Luoqiu shook her head. She secretly prayed for the disciples who went in, hoping that they would come out with some dignity. Creak. The door of the pagoda suddenly closed, and a magnificent aura spread out. A deep voice echoed in the back mountain, "Tower of Trials, open." Inside. The moment the door of the pagoda closed, the originally dark environment suddenly became bright. Li Qingyang and dozens of disciples immediately saw that in the corner in front of them, there was a staircase leading to the top. "Let's go." Everyone stepped forward and found that their bodies could not move at all, as if they were bound by some kind of force. "What's going on? Senior brother, why can't I move?" the disciples exclaimed. Not long after, their souls seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and they suddenly lost their minds for a short time. When they woke up, they found that they were already standing at the entrance of the staircase. Everyone's expression suddenly became sluggish. They were so far behind just now, how did they come here in an instant? Second senior brother. Su Xiaomao said with a trembling voice, "Why is your body transparent and glowing?" Speaking of this, he stopped abruptly, because he realized that he was also transparent and glowing. To be exact. All the disciples standing at the entrance of the staircase were in this state. "Look behind!" Li Fei exclaimed. Everyone turned their heads in unison. There were many disciples standing at the position just now, including himself. His body was stiff. This, Li Qingyang and the others were dumbfounded. Looking at themselves from another angle was undoubtedly very frightening. Moreover, they were clearly standing at the entrance of the tower, so why were they standing here in a transparent flowing light? The more they thought about it, the more their scalps went numb. Could it be that they had seen a ghost? Yi Xingchen frowned and said, "We are now in soul form." Soul form? Everyone was even more confused. Yi Xingchen said, "If I'm not wrong, this Tower of Trials binds our physical bodies, and uses our souls to undergo the trials." With this explanation, everyone immediately understood. The one standing at the back was his physical body, and now he was in soul form. This was still very frightening. Su Xiaomao did not care about his physical body or soul, and walked up the staircase with his short legs. The iron-boned disciples hurriedly followed. Whoosh! In the outside world, when they swarmed up to the first level of the Tower of Trials, a flowing light suddenly flashed, and a heavy voice sounded. 53 disciples collectively challenged the first level of the Tower of Trials. It's about to begin. Jun Changshao recalled his experience just now, and a chill ran down his spine, but he still grinned and said, "Babies, it's time to show your real skills." This smile was clearly one of schadenfreude. Seeing this, Li Luoqiu shook her head and said, "Good luck to them. P.S. Please recommend me, please give me monthly votes." Chapter 210. On the first floor of the Tower of Trials. This wasn't a tower building, but a place of nothingness. When Li Qingyang and the others appeared in their soul form and saw everything inside, they were all surprised. There were 9 floors in the Tower of Trials, and each floor was equivalent to an independent space. Because of the different styles of trials, the illusions were also different. To be exact, every tower had a hidden mystery, and it wasn't only 20 meters tall from the outside. Li Qingyang and the others stepped on a circular stone platform. Second senior brother. Su Xiaomao looked around and said, "The aura here is a bit strange." Li Qingyang said solemnly, "Since it's the Tower of Trials, there must be danger. Everyone must be careful." Okay. Everyone hurriedly approached, and they became cautious. At this moment, a heavy voice sounded. 53 disciples collectively challenged the first floor of the Tower of Trials. It's starting. Yi Xingqian's expression also became solemn. The sect leader had succeeded in the challenge and walked out in an extremely sorry state. He definitely didn't dare to be careless. Everyone became serious and prepared for the trial. Boom! The stone platform that was a few meters tall suddenly dropped and finally reached the same level as the ground. Whoosh whoosh! A strange wind blew over, and there was a heavy aura. Let's go! Li Qingyang was the first to move. At the same time, he mobilized the psionic power in the cyclone and was fully alert. Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, and the others also unleashed their psionic power. In case of an emergency, they could respond in time. The atmosphere became solemn. With every step they took, the disciples of the Iron Bone sect tensed up. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, a wave of air that was visible to the naked eye swept over from the end like a rolling river. Swoosh! Swoosh! Xiao Ziji and Li Yuhua immediately took out their iron shields. Although they were soul forms, the space rings and the things inside were also soul forms and could be used directly. However, the shields they took out were also flowing light. It was like a 3D projection. Gather together! Li Qingyang shouted when he took out his iron shield. Swoosh! Swoosh! More than 50 disciples gathered together and hid behind their senior brothers. Hoo! Waves of air swept over. At first, it looked like a surging river, but soon, it turned into raging waves. It was impossible to block it with just a shield. The corner of Su Xiaoma's mouth twitched. Senior brother, this is bad. Dodge! Li Qingyang said. As soon as he finished speaking, it was as if a stormy wave that was dozens of meters high had come crashing down. It was not water, nor was it power. Like smoke, it wantonly surrounded everyone. This, Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. He and his junior brothers acted as if they were facing a great enemy, but in the end, it was just a ball of air. This was a little awkward. You scared me to death. Su Xiaoma patted his chest and walked out from behind the shield. However, his expression suddenly became sluggish. Because from the moment he lifted his foot to the ground, he appeared to be very slow. Second senior brother. He exclaimed, my body is so stiff. Me too. Li Fei walked out slowly. He looked like he was doing a mechanical dance. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others spread out. Their movements were also stiff, and it was difficult for them to move. A slowing force? Yi Xingqian said with a serious expression. In his previous life, he knew of a type of force that could slow down a martial artist's speed. Wait a minute. It was not just slowing. Everyone gradually felt as if there was an invisible force pressing down on them, and it was gradually getting heavier. This is, Yi Xingqian said in a low voice, gravity. Outside. Jun Changshao said, the first level of the trial is a test of physical strength. It will increase in intensity according to the martial artist's strength. Can these precious disciples of mine last for an hour? The system said, due to the limitations of the sect's construction, the first level's gravity system is only 10 times stronger. They should be able to survive after taking the molding pill and the muscle molding room. So, the first level of the training tower's gravity is an upgraded version of the molding room? Jun Changshao murmured. The system said, you can think of it that way. Of course. It added, an hour is just the standard to pass. Only by continuing for a longer time can the body be better tempered. I understand, Jun Changshao said. Although he had only tempered for an hour, he could feel the obvious changes in his body. If it were not for something, he would have cultivated for a few hours inside. The system said, don't look for excuses. You just couldn't take it and came out because you were exhausted. Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't attack me for a day? Yes. Fuck you. The first level of the training tower. More than 50 disciples could still move slowly, but as the tenfold gravity exploded, each of them stood on the spot with a ferocious look on their faces. They felt as if they were carrying a heavy mountain on their shoulders, and their muscles were being squeezed by some kind of force. It was excruciating. Second senior brother, Su Xiaoma's expression became even more ferocious. His back was slightly bent, and he said in pain, so heavy. Li Qingyang was not feeling well either, but his expression was ferocious, and he could still stand straight. He said, "This should be the first level of the training tower. Everyone, hold on." They could hold on. After all the disciples who came in, except for Lu Qianqian, had gone through the molding room. However, the pressure brought by gravity was much more severe than using random punches. They were worried that they could not hold on for long. It was strange. Lu Qianqian had not gone through the molding room, but she could still stand straight despite the tenfold gravity. That was because this woman had gathered her psionic energy around her body and was fighting against the gravity. The first level of the training tower's gravity system increased the gravity by tenfold according to each disciple's cultivation base. Therefore, the stronger the cultivation base, the higher the gravity they could withstand. Lu Qianqian's strength was unknown, but she was definitely not weak. After fighting against the gravity for more than 10 minutes, sweat began to gather on her forehead. She was already doing well. Look at Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and the others. After more than 10 minutes, they were all sweating profusely. Their expressions were ferocious, and they looked very happy. Some of them were very calm. One was Xiao Ziji, and the other was Yi Xingchen. Xiao Ziji's body had always been very strong. After more than 10 minutes of gravity tempering, his expression only changed slightly. Although Yi Xingchen's body had not been tempered to the extreme, this guy had activated the Taishan Sutra and could temporarily fight against the tenfold gravity. Just like that. 53 disciples were all suppressed on the first level. Except for a few accidents, most of them began to bend down. Time continued to pass. 30 minutes later, the disciples who had entered the training tower later and whose bodies were far inferior to their senior brothers had already squatted down. Their expressions were extremely ferocious. They could not take it anymore. Plop. Cui Bujian could not withstand it and was directly pressed to the ground. His soul exploded with a bang and instantly disappeared from the first level. Cui Bujian, challenge failed. Bang! Bang! Within a few minutes, several disciples could not withstand the tenfold gravity and fell to the ground one after another. Their bodies exploded and were eliminated. They did not die, but their souls returned to their bodies. However, after regaining control of their bodies, they collapsed to the ground and rolled up their eyelids. White foam came out of their mouths, and their bodies twitched violently. The most appropriate word to describe it was too horrible to look at. P.S. Thank you to Memories of Childhood for the 10,000 coins tip. Happy birthday to you. Chapter 211. Disciples could enter the Tower of Trials at will to challenge, but if they failed, there would be punishment. For example, Cui Bujian and the others. They were lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. They were experiencing the double punishment of their bodies and souls. That was definitely not a good feeling. Sigh. Hearing that disciples were being eliminated one after another, Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "These disciples still lack training. They have to train hard and crazily." He had already thought it through. Next, all the disciples had to pass the first level's gravity test in 1 hour. The system said, "It's difficult." "It's only challenging when it's difficult," Jun Changshao said. At this moment, the heavy voice sounded again. Li Tiansheng, challenge failed. This disciple joined the sect together with Long Xiang and the others. Later, he was assigned to the Drizzle Hall and majored in movement techniques. His body was a little weak. To be honest, it was already very good. If it were any other sect's disciples, a large number of them would have been eliminated in 10 minutes. Time continued to pass. Soon, it was 40 minutes. During this time, disciples were being eliminated one after another. There were 33 people left on the first level. Most of these disciples were from the first batch of disciples. Their bodies were very strong, so they could still hold on. Of course. The second batch of disciples, Long Xiang and Li Yuhua, were still fighting hard. Li Yuhua had gone through Xiao Ziji's special training and could still hold on. However, Long Xiang was already at the end of his rope. No, I can't fall. I have to hold on. I have to become stronger. Strong perseverance supported Long Xiang. He clenched his teeth tightly and remained in a half-squatting position. His exposed muscles were bulging with blue veins. Time passed bit by bit. From 40 minutes to more than 50 minutes. They were only a few minutes away from the challenge's success. Long Xiang and Li Yuhua were still struggling to hold on. They were still defending the dignity of the second batch of disciples. As for Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji, they could definitely hold on. However, the torture brought by gravity was far worse than in the molding room. Hold on, hold on. As the only female disciple present, Lu Qianshan was still persevering, but her brows were tightly knitted as she endured the pain brought about by the gravity. Yi Xingchen was also suffering. However, as a martial emperor, how could he be defeated by a mere tenfold gravity? The most valiant was Xiao Ziji, because among the 33 disciples present, he was the only one who could stand straight and resist the gravity with his body. What a joke! Iron Bone's #1 main tank wasn't just for show. Come on, come on. Let the storm come even fiercer. Xiao Ziji roared in his heart with a ferocious expression. His desire to refine his body to the extreme was growing stronger and stronger. Ding! After a few minutes, a crisp sound came from the first floor, followed by a deep voice, 33 disciples, challenge successful. Whoosh! In an instant, a flight of stairs leading to the second level appeared in front of the illusory land. Disciples who succeed in the challenge may proceed to the second level. Disciples who wish to remain may continue to withstand the gravity and train. Disciples who wish to descend may wish to leave. A heavy voice rang in everyone's ears. Plop! Plop! As soon as the voice fell, Long Xiang, Li Yuhua, and the others, who had endured for 2 hours, heaved a sigh of relief. They were all pressed to the ground and howled in their hearts, I don't want to play anymore. I want to leave. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, everyone's soul dissipated and returned to their bodies. Their bodies immediately swayed. Although they didn't fall to the ground and spit white foam like Cui Bujian, after experiencing tenfold gravity for an hour, their bodies were sore and their legs seemed to be filled with mercury. They couldn't lift them at all. At that moment, they finally understood why the sect leader was so miserable after succeeding in the challenge. Not all the disciples gave up. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji were still resisting the gravity. After all, this was a good opportunity to refine their bodies. Lu Qianshan didn't intend to go to the second level or leave. Just like that, the 7 inner disciples continued to refine their bodies on the first level. Li Fei and Tian Qi endured for 1.5 hours. When they couldn't take it anymore, they were teleported out. Su Xiaomao was a little stronger than them, but he only lasted for 10 minutes before leaving. The 3 of them held the door and walked out one after another with trembling legs. Then they lay on the grass like mud. They tried hard to breathe fresh air, which made them think. It's so good to be alive. Jun Changshao, who was sitting next to them, smiled and said, Did you feel good? The three of them almost couldn't help but cry. It was too scary, too scary. They couldn't go back into play even if they were beaten to death. Li Luoqiu murmured, "There's only Lu Qianshan and Li Qingyang left. I don't know how long they can hold on." Jun Changshao said, "The longer the better." Yes. Although the tenfold gravity was terrifying, the longer they could hold on, the stronger the tempering of their bodies would be. The four people on the first level also knew that, but they were still gritting their teeth and holding on. Not long after, the time reached 2 hours. Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen were sweating profusely. Blue veins popped out on their foreheads, and their faces were hideous. Lu Qianshan's frown deepened. But after holding on for another 20 minutes, she thought of leaving and her soul returned to her body. And so, only Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and Yi Xingchen were left on the first level of the Tower of Experience. Although the three of them were in great pain, they didn't think of giving up. Soon. 3 hours passed. The tenfold gravity seemed endless. Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen were already half-squatting, as if they were carrying Mount Tai on their backs. Xiao Ziji was also bent over, but his legs were still able to stand straight. He wasn't in a half-squatting position. Just like that, another hour passed. Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen finally couldn't hold on any longer. They thought of leaving one after another. The two of them challenged for 4 hours, which was 4 hours in falling star continent's time. Whoosh! Li Qingyang was the first to walk out while holding on to the door. His legs were trembling violently, and there was a faint possibility that he would collapse. Damn it! Yi Xingchen also walked out while holding on to the door. He was unwilling to give up. If I still had the body of my previous life, I would be able to withstand the gravity and walk as if I were flying. Sinful self is the only one left. Jun Changshao murmured, "Can you hold on until lunch?" Xiao Ziji was the only one left on the first level of the Tower of Experience. At this moment, his legs were bent, and his body was also bent over. However, he gritted his teeth and held on. His entire face was distorted to a frightening degree. However, there was a limit to the physical body. After resisting for 4.5 hours, he finally reached his limit. He could only think of leaving, and his soul returned to his body. The disciples' challenge has ended. Xiao Ziji has become the record holder of the first level of the Tower of Experience with 4.5 hours. A deep voice sounded. Jun Changshao said with a surprised expression, "I was the first to succeed. Why isn't there a record?" The system said, "The host endured for an hour and didn't continue to challenge. Besides, this is a record to motivate the other disciples. Why are you, a sect leader, joining in the fun?" "That's true." Jun Changshao said, "I'm a sect leader. Why should I care about this kind of record?" Chapter 212. More than 50 disciples entered the training tower, and more than 30 succeeded. Xiao Ziji was the one who lasted until the end and set the record at 2.5 hours. This was normal. Ever since he joined the sect, Xiao Ziji had been walking the path of strengthening his body. It was reasonable for him to have the last laugh in the first level of training his body. As for the second level of training, none of the successful disciples went up, because they were all exhausted after enduring the tenfold gravity. The first level of the training tower was to train the body, and it was similar to a soul. In fact, it was a 100% imitation of the disciple's body. Under the pressure of the gravity, the pain of the body could be deeply felt after returning to the original body. Then, why did they use this soul-like form to replace the real body training? Because not all disciples had a strong body. If they used their original body to withstand the tenfold gravity, they would probably be crushed to death. As for the second and third levels of training, the training methods were different, and it would definitely be more dangerous. Imitating the disciple's body in training in a soul form, even if they failed the challenge, they would only be punished. This was the training tower. It was a cultivation place that could allow the disciples to avoid injuries and at the same time, allow them to train in all aspects. Phew! Outside the tower, Li Qingyang and the others lay on the grass, breathing rapidly. They felt like their bodies did not belong to them. The tenfold gravity training was much better than the molding room. The disciples who failed the challenge were automatically sent out. They lay on the grass with their eyelids rolled back and their bodies twitching violently. Although failing a challenge in the Tower of Trials would not result in death, the punishment was equivalent to dying once. As for the side effects, they would last for an entire day. The next day, Jun Changshao woke up early. The fatigue in his body had dissipated, and he was full of energy. He jumped a few times on the spot and said, "I feel much lighter." He went to the training room and punched the testing machine with his right fist, which was imbued with psionic energy. The strength displayed was 90,000 pounds. Jun Changshao said, "I've increased by more than 100 pounds since yesterday." With his current cultivation and physical strength, there was almost no increase in strength after a whole day of molding in the molding room. 1 hour in the training tower and an increase of 100 pounds, the improvement was still very obvious. The system said, the host has not only improved his strength, but also his physical strength. If he continues to train, he will definitely benefit a lot. Jun Changshao said, "This tower of experience is really not bad. Even if I use up all my contribution points, I'll still make a profit." Previously, he had forcefully comforted himself, but now, he truly felt that it was worth it. Li Qingyang and the others, who had endured for a longer period of time, felt as light as swallows after they got up. Their strength had also increased by varying degrees. Ha ha ha. Li Tian jumped up and down on the training field like an idiot and said, "I feel like I'm about to ascend to the heavens." Many of the experienced disciples went to the training room to test their strength. When they saw their strength increase, they were all overjoyed. That Tower of Trials was simply valiant. Let's go and train." After tasting the sweetness, the disciples forgot the pain and hurried to the back of the mountain. Especially Su Xiaomua and Li Fei. Yesterday, they had thought that they would rather die than play, but in the end, they ran faster than the outer sect disciples. What they meant was that they wouldn't play even if they were beaten to death. As long as they weren't beaten to death, they would play. However, when they arrived at the back of the mountain, the first level of the Tower of Trials flashed. Obviously, someone had entered before them. Who? Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and Yi Xingqian. After the three of them got up, they didn't go to test themselves. They felt that their physical strength had increased, so they came to train without hesitation. Let's go in. Creak. The tower door opened by itself. Su Xiaomua went in without hesitation. His body froze, and he entered the first level in a simulated state. Tian Qi and Li Fei followed closely behind. Su Xiaomua challenged the first level of the Tower of Trials. Tian Qi challenged the first level of the Tower of Trials. Li Fei, challenge. When the three of them stood in the illusory land, a deep voice sounded. 10 times the gravity instantly pressed down on them, and they began a brand new journey. Cui Bujian, Li Tian, and the others came up one after another. In a short time, more than 70 disciples had gathered on the first level. Among them, there was someone who was experiencing 10 times the gravity for the first time. His expression suddenly became interesting. Bang! A few minutes later, 2 disciples were eliminated one after another. They were new disciples and hadn't fully adapted to the molding in the molding room. If they came here to experience the gravity, they would definitely kneel. Jun Changshao, who was sitting on a rock outside the tower, murmured, experiencing for a few minutes and being weak for an entire day, "Isn't this a waste of time?" The system said, therefore, the host needs to set the requirements to enter the Tower of Trials. N. Jun Changshao began to think. Combining the performance of Cui Bujian, Li Tian, and the others, he finally decided that disciples who didn't undergo 2 months of molding in the molding room were prohibited from entering the Tower of Trials. More than half an hour later, more than half of the 60 disciples in the Tower of Trials were eliminated. However, the disciples who failed the second challenge lasted a little longer than yesterday. This meant that there was progress. Li Qingyang and the other two, who were the first to train, successfully endured for an hour and succeeded in the challenge again. Success didn't mean the end. Because they wanted to pursue the ultimate physical body tempering, they were still resisting 10 times the gravity. Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, and the others were also challenging their limits, hoping to hold on for a longer time. As long as the disciples continued, they didn't care about the success of the challenge. They only cared about being able to experience for a longer time or to challenge Xiao Ziji's record. The recording function of the Tower of Trials was to encourage the disciples to work hard. However, Su Xiaoma and the others weren't as crazy as Xiao Ziji when it came to body molding. After enduring for an hour, they couldn't bear it anymore and automatically left. On the first floor, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and Yi Xingchen were left. I can't lose, I have to hold on. Yi Xingchen, who was resisting 10 times the gravity, clenched his fists, the veins on his face popping out. As a martial emperor, he definitely had the pride to not admit defeat. Unfortunately, the one who seized the body was the woodcutter after all. His body molding was much later than Xiao Ziji. In the end, he was defeated together with Li Qingyang. The two of them held on for 10 more minutes than yesterday. The improvement was very significant. Phew! Phew! Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen held on to the door and walked out. Once again, they collapsed on the grass. Once again, they felt that their bodies didn't belong to them. Xiao Ziji was still persevering. Soon, he reached 5 hours, matching the record he set yesterday. This couldn't end. He had to break the record. However, after holding on for more than 10 minutes, he couldn't bear the gravity anymore and had no choice but to retreat. Strange. Seeing Xiao Ziji stagger out, Jun Changshao was puzzled. Sinful self lasted longer than yesterday. Why didn't he set a new record? The system said, the new record needs to be improved for an hour before it can be recognized. I see. Jun Changshao understood. If he wanted the Tower of Trials to recognize a new record, he had to endure for 6 hours. This was undoubtedly a bit difficult. Even if he wanted to break the record set by Xiao Ziji, it wasn't something he could do in a day or two. Chapter 213. The next day. After the disciples finished their morning exercises, Jun Changshao announced that the disciples who had not spent 2 months in the training room would be banned from entering the training tower. If they could not withstand the first level of gravity, they would kneel the moment they entered. It was undoubtedly a waste of time. Sect Master Li Qingyang said, there are not many training rooms in the training room. We can't arrange for a few hundred disciples. When there were only a few hundred disciples, the training rooms were already in short supply. Now that there were only 500 disciples, it would be even more miserable. Jun Changshao pondered for a while and went to the training room. He bought 10 muscle training rooms and ordered that the disciples who had been training for more than 2 months did not need to come in again. With this, the problem was solved. Although it was still in short supply, at least the disciples could go in and train for a period of time every day. Because of the continuous consumption of the spirit array and the 200 points that he had just spent, Jun Changshao now only had 100 points left. It was very tragic and insecure. However, if it could make the disciples stronger and move towards the strongest sect, he would not feel the pinch even if he spent it all. There are still 497 vacancies in the sect. If we fill them up, we can earn a lot of contribution points. Jun Changshao murmured. He already had plans to open the sect again and recruit disciples. In this way, the disciples who did not have a strong physical body would be trained in the training room first. The disciples who met the requirements would enter the training tower. Of course, Jun Changshao would not be idle either. After dinner, he would enter the first level of the training tower alone and start training his physical body. Why did it have to be at night? Because the disciples had already trained. They would not be able to see the hideous expressions caused by the gravity. As the sect master, he had to maintain his dignity at all times. During the second training, Jun Changshao was very serious. Not only did he succeed in the challenge, but he also held on for more than 4 hours. In terms of physical strength, he was not weaker than Xiao Ziji. After all, after buying the training room, he often spent the whole night training. Phew! Under the starry night, Jun Changshao lay on the grass and breathed rapidly. His face gradually relaxed. This was his third time in the training tower and he held on for 6 hours. Although he broke the record, the training tower did not recognize him because of his identity as the sect master. Forget it, forget it. The record was a kind of motivation for the disciples. He did not need to care. At this moment, Jun Changshao noticed that Lu Qianqian, dressed in white, had appeared in the night and stopped in front of the pagoda door. Why didn't this woman train during the day? Could it be that she had to maintain the demeanor of an ice-cold beauty? Lu Qianqian noticed the sect leader, but she only glanced at him before getting up and entering the experience tower. Swish! The first layer of light flickered, illuminating the surroundings. A deep voice sounded, Lu Qianqian challenges the first level of the Tower of Experience. Jun Changshao murmured, she has never been to the molding room before. It's already very good that she can last for a few hours the first time. How long can she last this time? Crack. He took out the mechanical stopwatch he had previously purchased from his spatial ring and began to calculate the time for Lu Qianqian. Needless to say, some of the seemingly useless items purchased from the refresh shop could sometimes show a little bit of value. An hour later. The heavy voice sounded again, Lu Qianqian, challenge successful. Jun Changshao wasn't surprised. What he cared about was whether this woman could last for 4 hours. Time continued to pass. Jun Changshao, who was completely exhausted, finally fell asleep on the grass. The stopwatch in his hand kept ticking. 5 hours later. A voice sounded from the Tower of Experience. Disciples' challenge has ended. Lu Qianqian has become the record holder for the first level of the Tower of Experience with 6 hours. She actually broke Xiao Ziji's record in her second trial. Unfortunately, sect leader Jun was too tired. He slept like a dead pig and didn't hear the voice at all. Creak. The pagoda door opened, and Lu Qianqian walked out with a pale face. If Jun Changshao saw this, he would be extremely shocked. Because after enduring for 6 hours, she still had the strength to walk. The physical training in the Tower of Experience is much better than the extreme cold training array. Lu Qianqian murmured and saw the snoring sect leader in the distance. She supported her weak body and walked towards the inner courtyard. However, after a few steps, she stopped in front of Jun Changshao. Her eyes were still cold. After dawn, Jun Changshao suddenly opened his eyes and said, I actually fell asleep. When he got up, he found a blanket covering his body. There was a faint fragrance. Sect leader Jun instantly determined that it wasn't just a woman's fragrance. It was Lu Qianqian's. As an old single dog, he was actually able to determine who it was from the fragrance. He was indeed talented. Jun Changshao folded the blanket and murmured, she still knows how to care for her sect leader. As expected, she's cold-hearted but not cold-hearted. Speaking of which, how long did that woman last? Jun Changshao subconsciously looked up at the Tower of Experience and saw the words on the first level, record holder, Lu Qianqian. Time, 6 hours. Gah. He was stunned. That woman broke the record. After doing morning exercises and eating breakfast, Li Qingyang and the others continued to train in the Tower of Experience. When they saw that Lu Qianqian had broken the record on the first level, they were all dumbfounded. "Oh my God!" Su Xiaomo exclaimed, "I didn't see eldest senior sister come in yesterday. When did she break junior brother Zhao's record?" Xiao Ziji scratched his head and said in admiration, "Eldest senior sister is really amazing. He had only lasted 20 minutes longer than the second time. At this rate, it would take at least a few days to reach 6 hours. That woman is indeed not simple," Yi Xingqian thought to himself. He was already very surprised that she could use the ice element in Death Valley. Now that she had lasted 6 hours, her strength couldn't be underestimated. As a woman, Lu Qianqian had taken the record on the first level of the Tower of Experience. Many female disciples were overjoyed. They didn't dare to go in at first, but under the encouragement of eldest senior sister's record, they finally stepped into the Tower of Experience. Ling Yuanxue, who was determined to become a martial artist and prove who said that women were inferior to men, also went in. Although she didn't succeed, at least she had the courage. Just like that. With the birth of Lu Qianqian's record, the male disciples didn't want to admit defeat and trained even more crazily. The female disciples were encouraged and also boldly cultivated. The whole Iron Bone Tower was filled with the spirit of martial cultivation. Standing outside the Tower of Experience, Jun Changshao looked at the disciples going in and out, exuding an aura of, "I want to become stronger." A gratified smile appeared on his face. At night, he didn't go in to train. He was waiting for Lu Qianqian. Sure enough, around dawn, that woman came late. "Hey!" Jun Changshao, who was sitting on a rock, shouted, "It's so late. Why are you here to train instead of sleeping?" Lu Qianqian said, "Sect master isn't sleeping either." Jun Changshao took out the blanket and said, "This should be yours, right? Sect master gave me a bracelet, and I gave Sect master a blanket." Lu Qianqian said. Jun Changshao was speechless, "I gave you an ice bracelet, and you gave me a blanket. This return gift is too cheap." Lu Qianqian was silent. When she put on the ice bracelet in Death Valley, she realized that the bracelet given by the Sect master contained the power of ice and could increase the strength of her ice. Otherwise, it was impossible to seal the fire dragon beast for 4 to 5 breaths. Lu Qianqian said, "The Tower of Experience should be a high-level treasure. Can Sect master separate the male and female training areas?" Jun Changshao thought for a moment, and said, "Yes, you can. However." He walked over and said, "Today, you have to go in with me to train." Lu Qianqian frowned slightly. Jun Changshao said, "I just want to see how strong your eldest disciple's physical body is to be able to break the record." Chapter 214. On the first floor of the Tower of Experience. Jun Changshao was enduring the tenfold gravity with a hideous expression on his face. He had been here for 4 hours. Although he was more used to it than the previous 2 times, it still didn't feel good. On the contrary. Lu Qianqian, who was standing next to him, frowned. Her forehead was dripping with sweat, but she looked much more relaxed. At that moment, Jun Changshao finally understood why she wasn't interested in the molding room. It turned out that her physical body was already very strong, so there was no need to mold it. She was young, but her cultivation was high, and she even had a special ice element. This eldest disciple was really not simple. "Qianqian," Jun Changshao resisted the gravity and said with difficulty, What is your background?" Lu Qianqian said, "I don't have a background." "No background? Only a ghost would believe that." Jun Changshao said, "You have a saint-grade spirit root and an ice element. You should be from a big family." Lu Qianqian was startled. "How does he know about my spirit root?" After purchasing the dazzling light ink realm, apart from Zhou Hong, the only other person in the sect who didn't want to see it was Sect Master Jun, of course. Jun Changshao said again, maybe you're from a big sect. Hearing the words big sect, Lu Qianqian's eyes shook slightly. Although this woman was very easy to hide, Jun Changshao still caught it. It seems that this woman really is from a big sect. Saint Grade Spirit Root. She was definitely a third-rate sect. Since she was from a big sect, why did she come to Qingyang County and join a small sect like his? At that moment, he was possessed by Sherlock Holmes and Detective Conan. Sect leader Jun began to rack his brain and finally came to the conclusion that he was too handsome and was accidentally discovered by her. She didn't hesitate to leave the big sect and join Iron Bone. His reasoning was very logical and meticulous. Who could find fault with it? Lu Qianqian said, it's better that sect leader doesn't know about my matters. Jun Changshao said, you must have done something in the big sect and was forced to leave. Joining Iron Bone is also to avoid trouble. I've already made myself very clear, yet he still wants to guess. Seeing that the woman was silent, Jun Changshao said, it seems that my guess is pretty close. Lu Qianqian stopped talking and focused on resisting the gravity. Jun Changshao said, you're my Iron Bone disciple for a day, and you'll be my Iron Bone disciple for a lifetime. If an enemy comes knocking on your door, I'll stand up for you. Lu Qianqian looked at him and said, if my enemy was Wu Huang or Wu Sheng, would sect leader be able to help me? Wu Huang, Wu Sheng. Was this woman's enemy that strong? Lu Qianqian said, Sect Master, you should focus on developing the sect. I will handle my own matters. Lu Qianqian, listen carefully. Jun Changshao straightened his slightly bent body and said, even if your enemy is a high and mighty martial emperor, as the sect leader of Iron Bone, I'll stand up for you. His words were sonorous and powerful, and were very strong. But under 10 times the gravity, his face, which should have been serious, still looked ferocious. Lu Qianqian was stunned. Plop. Because he was distracted by talking, sect leader Jun fell to the ground. Just as his soul was about to collapse, he hurriedly thought of leaving. Lu Qianqian stood on the first floor, the sect leader's words echoing in her ears. A moment later, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth for the first time. This iceberg woman actually smiled. Lu Qianqian, who was already extraordinarily beautiful, could be described as having a smile that could topple cities, and then a smile that could topple countries. Unfortunately, sect leader Jun, who was holding the door and walking out, couldn't see it. The next day, under the control of Jun Changshao's thoughts, the first floor of the training pagoda was divided into 2 areas. One for the male disciples to train, and the other for the female disciples. Sect leader Jun specially divided the female disciples' training area into more than 20 separate areas, so that they could train alone. It couldn't be helped. Girls more or less cared about their makeup. If they were to be seen while enduring the gravity, it would definitely affect their condition. Sure enough. After the separation, the first batch of female disciples who entered the sect and scrupulously endured the 10 times gravity in the separate areas. One after another, there were people who successfully challenged the pagoda. Ling Yuanshua's improvement was also very obvious. From the initial 30+ minutes to 50+ minutes, he was close to completing the challenge. The male disciples who didn't receive any special treatment stood on the first floor as usual, their faces as ferocious as the devil's. They weren't little fresh meats who relied on their faces to make a living. As long as their physical body and strength could be improved, they would be happy even if they had to twist their faces every day. After obtaining the training pagoda, Li Qingyang and the others temporarily gave up on cultivating their spiritual power and focused on tempering their physical bodies. After all, having a solid foundation would be of great help to their martial path in the future. Yi Xingqian, who had suffered in his previous life, had a deep understanding of this. Therefore, as soon as he recovered the next day, he immediately went to temper his physical body. In this life, as long as I have a solid physical body, after I become a martial emperor, it will be easy for me to shatter the void. Knight Emperor, who was enduring the 10 times gravity, had a strong glow in his eyes. In the end, he endured for 4 hours. It wasn't enough. There were still 6 hours left for him to surpass. 10 days later. After the Iron Bone disciples went through the first floor of the training pagoda, most of them were able to endure for an hour. Especially Li Qingyang and a few other inner disciples. After enduring for an hour, they only frowned. After a long period of training, they had already adapted well to the 10 times gravity. However, if they wanted to improve further, they had to continuously break through their limits. Li Qingyang, Yi Xingqian, and Xiao Ziji were completely infatuated with the 10 times gravity. They focused on tempering their physical bodies. Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and the others had no hope of catching up. They were considering whether to ascend to the second floor. In the past, they had thought of going, but after enduring for an hour, they were already exhausted. They couldn't withstand the 10 times gravity and walk to the stairs. Although it was very painful now, they could at least lift their feet with difficulty. "Let's go," Su Xiaoma said, "to the second floor." Step. He, Li Fei, and Tian Qi gritted their teeth and lifted their feet. They endured the 10 times gravity and walked over. Finally, they climbed the stairs and reached the second floor. The disciples who were still struggling on the first floor had envy in their eyes. They thought to themselves, "I have to work hard too. I have to strive to reach the second floor like my senior brothers." Whoosh! The second floor of the training pagoda flashed. Su Xiaoma challenged the second floor of the training pagoda. Li Fei, challenge, Tian Qi, challenge. However, after a few minutes, the heavy voice sounded again. Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and Tian Qi failed. Creak. Whoosh! 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 The pagoda door opened. Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and Tian Qi were directly thrown out. The three's eyelids rolled back. They foamed at the mouth and their bodies twitched violently. The degree of punishment was far more tragic than Cui Bujian and the others who had failed before. Hiss. The disciples who were preparing to go in and temper their physical bodies saw the miserable state of their senior brothers. They all gasped. This second level was definitely terrifying enough to make one's hair stand on end. Chapter 215. The purpose of the Experience Tower was to train in all aspects. The first level used gravity to compress the body and achieve extreme tempering. However, if it was purely tempering the body, it would not be perfect, because the muscles and bones also needed to be tempered. The flesh was the foundation, and the bones were the load-bearing beams. With the perfect combination of the two, a tall building could be built from the ground. Then, the theme of the second level of the Experience Tower was to temper the bones. This tempering did not use gravity to compress the bones, but a special flame to temper the bones and veins. When Su Xiaoma and the other two arrived at the second level, their bodies were immediately enveloped by a strange flame. Hundreds of bones and veins were immediately subjected to crazy tempering. The tempering of the body was only due to the compression of gravity. The pain of having his bones and tendons burned by the strange flame was bone-piercing. Su Xiaoma and the other two, who were not in good condition to begin with, were caught off guard by such a tempering. After a few minutes, their soul bodies directly collapsed. The punishment of the second level was far greater than that of the first level. Judging from their twitching, it would be difficult for them to recover without 2 days. Standing in front of the three, Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "You haven't even fully adapted to the first level, and you're in a hurry to go to the second level. You're quite brave. Fully adapting to this was very particular. Not to mention being able to walk as fast as flying, but at least being able to withstand it for an hour without any change in expression. As of now, no disciple could meet the requirements. Therefore, to go to the second level was a long and arduous task. With the 3 senior brothers as examples, the iron-bone disciples obediently tempered their bodies on the first level. As they gradually adapted to the tenfold gravity, they did not feel too painful after cultivating for an hour and could cultivate as usual. In fact, tempering for an hour a day was already very effective. Unless they went to the extreme, there was no need to fight to the death. Li Qingyang realized that and no longer pursued the limit. Every day, he tempered for 2 hours, either cultivating the I Jin Jing or helping the sect leader with sect affairs. Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and the others were the same. In their opinion, tempering the body was only a part of cultivation. The nurturing of spiritual energy could not be neglected. From the previous high spirits to gradually calming down, this was a normal development. However, Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen were still going to the extreme, tempering for 6 hours before stopping. The advantage of this was that his physical body could be strengthened at a high rate. The disadvantage was that he would be weak for an entire day after the training. Jun Changxiao would not stop the two from tempering their bodies to the extreme. After all, disciples had the right to choose their own path of martial arts. The only thing he could do was to protect her on the road and not be bullied by others. Neither Wu Huang nor Wu Huang could do it. During this period, Jun Changxiao distributed the mountain-splitting palm and seal shield to the disciples, giving them more skills to learn. Mountain-splitting palm was a domineering palm technique. Spirit energy gathered in the palm, and the explosive force could split mountains and rocks. The seal shield was a defensive cultivation technique. It was driven by spiritual energy and formed a defensive shield in front of the user. The levels of these two cultivation techniques were not high, and they were relatively simple to cultivate. However, in order to unleash their full potential, one had to have a high level of cultivation and comprehension. In the study room, Jun Changxiao took out 10 bottles of high-grade aptitude modification liquid and said, "You guys did well in the trip to Death Valley. Take this medicinal liquid and consume it." Zhang Wei and the other 10 middle-grade disciples stepped forward and each took a bottle of aptitude modification liquid. After consuming it, the middle-grade spirit root would be upgraded to high-grade. During the training in Death Valley, Long Xiang and Li Yuhua's performance was not bad, but because they entered the sect late, Jun Changxiao chose to give it to the older disciples first. There were many disciples and limited resources. They could only distribute it according to the time they entered the sect. What kind of medicinal liquid is this? After drinking it, one's realm and cultivation will actually increase. This is unbelievable. Could it be that the medicinal liquid given to us by the sect leader is the immortal dew wine? The 10 disciples were shocked. After their spirit roots were upgraded to high grade, if nothing unexpected happened, they would definitely become inner sect disciples in the future. Those whose cultivation was not high relied on the forging room and the spirit energy array to increase their cultivation. Those who were strong entered the experience tower to train. The disciples' cultivation was in full swing, and their iron bone was clearly becoming more and more standardized and professional. After the disciples' training was solved, Jun Changxiao only had one problem in front of him, and that was martial resources. Martial resources were pills, weapons, and spirit stones. Pills and weapons could be refined by the pill refining pavilion and the forging pavilion, but spirit stones were more difficult. On the market, one spirit stone was equivalent to 10,000 taels. Even if sect leader Jun used all his wealth to exchange, he could only exchange for 1,000 or so. He could absorb them himself, but it was definitely not enough for hundreds of disciples. "I'm still poor." Jun Changxiao sat in the study room and rubbed his temples. Without this damned system binding, it would be better for him to slowly develop in the other world. Complaining wouldn't solve any problems, so sect leader Jun had to think of a way to earn martial resources. Actually, with the experience tower, the disciples would definitely become stronger and lead the sect to become stronger. But he wanted to be fast. The time limit of the main mission was only 100 years. If he could reach it as soon as possible, he naturally couldn't be passive. I can give more healing pills to the AI family to obtain more funds in a short time, Jun Changshao murmured. He didn't consider giving more body-shaping pills. This thing was much more heaven-defying than healing pills. If he sold it in large quantities, it would definitely attract attention. Besides, if he sold a lot of pills, wouldn't he be creating a strong opponent for himself if he encountered an enemy who had taken them before? Sect leader. At this moment, Li Qingyang walked in and said, "Family head AI requests an audience." Why was he here again? Jun Changshao said, "Please enter the main hall." Yes. When family head AI came last time, sect leader Jun brought his disciples to Death Valley to train, so he came again mainly to confirm whether he would participate in the auction. This, after knowing the purpose of his visit, sect leader Jun pondered for a moment and said, "Family head AI, I have too many things to do in the sect, so I won't be participating in tomorrow's auction." He was really not interested in this kind of auction. Sect leader Jun, family head AI said, "There are many experts and major forces from various counties at this auction. You can go and broaden your horizons. Also." He paused for a moment and said, "The fourth-rate palace master of Miaohua Palace is also here." Jun Changshao said in surprise, "Your auction this time even alarmed a fourth-rate sect." Family head AI smiled and said, "Sect leader Jun, have you heard of the palace master of Miaohua Palace?" "No," Jun Changshao said. Family head AI said, "This palace master of Miaohua Palace is the same as sect leader Jun. She led a sect at a young age and is known as a strange woman of the Star Field continent." "Oh." Jun Changshao said, "The palace master of Miaohua Palace is a woman." "That's right." Family head AI said, "Miaohua Palace has always only accepted female disciples. It is one of the few female sects in the Starfall continent." "How young is she?" Jun Changshao asked. Family head AI said, "The palace master of Miaohua Palace has just turned 20 years old. She is outstanding and is a great beauty." "Ah." Jun Changshao said seriously, "Family head AI has invited me again and again. If I refuse, it will be a little unreasonable." He decided to go. It was not to see some great beauty, but to broaden his horizons. Chapter 216. Jun Changshao went to the auction mainly to broaden his horizons. After all, interacting with the big shots of the sect was better than working behind closed doors at home. As for the palace master of Miaohua Palace. I really want to see what kind of beauty she is, 1 in a million. Men. It was normal to like looking at beauties. If Jun Changshao righteously said that he didn't like looking at beauties, he would either be extremely hypocritical, or, there was a problem with his sexual orientation. Sect Master Jun, before the AI family head left, he handed over a few space rings and said, "These are the medicinal herbs that I have recently collected." "Thank you." After Jun Changshao accepted it, he cupped his fists and said, "Tomorrow, Jun will definitely attend the auction." And he had the medicinal herbs and the space rings. Therefore, there was no need to specially buy these things. It was enough to lick the bag and be given by others. The AI family head gave him a lot of medicinal herbs, so Jun Changshao opened the alchemy pavilion and refined a lot. At the moment, there were plenty of healing pills and shaping pills, as well as many meridian opening pills and chi revolving pills. Although he had refined more than 1,000 chi gathering pills, he had to supply more than 500 disciples. It was a drop in the bucket. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed, resources, I need you guys too much. That night, he began to arrange the affairs of the sect to Li Qingyang, then entered the experience tower to train for 4 hours. The next day, after breakfast, he set off for Huyang City. However, just as he walked down the mountain, Lu Qianqian, who was like a pure snow lotus, stood under a tree. Jun Changxiao was puzzled. Why are you here? Lu Qianqian said, I heard from second junior brother that Sect Master is going to attend the auction. I want to go and watch the fun. You've been cultivating in the sect all day. It's time to go out and relax. Jun Changxiao said, let's go, follow me to Huyang City. Thus, the two of them left Iron Bone Mountain. Ever since the sect was formalized, Sect Master Jun had changed this nameless mountain to Iron Bone Mountain. After all, many sects either built their sect after a mountain, or directly changed their name to something related to the sect. This was a trend. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Early in the morning, everything was silent. A faint light appeared on the eastern horizon, carefully soaking in the light blue sky. A new day was gradually approaching. The mountains were humid and often filled with a light mist. Jun Changxiao and Lu Qianqian walked out of the morning fog one after another. They looked like an immortal couple descending to the mortal world. This was the second time the two of them had traveled together alone. The first time was when they went to Qingyang City to participate in the recruitment of the numerous sects. At that time, Jun Changxiao had just transmigrated and was a complete newbie. On the other hand, Lu Qianqian's temperament was like that of a fairy. When the two of them walked together, there was a sense of incompatibility. Now that he was a rank 5 martial master, he had the aura of a sect master gathered around him. Walking alone with this woman, his aura had already surpassed hers. In fact, in the past few months, Lu Qianqian's attitude towards the sect leader had changed a lot. She rarely used words to choke him. Qianqian. Jun Changxiao chatted casually, the last time we went to Qingyang City to participate in the recruitment of the numerous sects, there were only 2 of us in the sect. Now that it has developed to more than 500 people, it's incredible just thinking about it. Lu Qianqian said, a large-scale sect needs at least a few thousand disciples. The sect leader still has a long way to go. Although he said so, he had to admit it in his heart. During this period of time, the Iron Bone sect was really getting stronger day by day under his management. She once said that if he became the sect leader, he could make the sect dominate Qingyang County. Now it seemed that not only could he do it, but it would probably take even less time. As for dominating the falling star continent, Lu Qianqian could only use the word dream to describe it. Are you tired? Do you want to rest for a while? I'm not tired. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? I'm not hungry. Used to this woman's cold personality, Jun Changxiao didn't take it to heart, but said, have you heard of Miaohua Palace? Lu Qianqian said, a newly risen 4th-rate sect, the palace master is called Shi Jingxian, known as the world's most extraordinary woman. Jun Changxiao said in surprise, you even know the name of the palace master, you know quite a lot about the sect. Lu Qianqian said, these forces, the sect leader must also understand, such as which sects can't be offended, which sects have strong backing. I don't cause trouble, why would I want to know about the sect? Besides. Jun Changxiao paused, and said, why don't they come to understand my iron bone? A sect, let the sect understand. If this was heard by outsiders, they would definitely scoff. Don't cause trouble. Lu Qianqian said, the Black Eagle Hall's deputy hall master and disciples were killed a while ago, the sect leader has caused trouble, if they find out that it was my iron bone who did it, they will definitely not let it go. They were killed in the wilderness, and their bodies were burned, how could they be discovered? Jun Changxiao said confidently. No wonder this guy burned it with the exquisite fire, he had already planned to not leave any traces. Lu Qianqian said, don't underestimate a 7th-rate sect, and even more so an evil sect, because they have unknown methods, maybe they can find out. Besides, the people of Black Eagle Hall came to intercept us, they must have heard from the rogue cultivators at the entrance of the valley. As long as they find out, with the evil sect's usual ruthless way of doing things, no matter right or wrong, they will definitely come to us. This woman was a little too talkative, but also to remind the sect leader. Makes sense. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin, saying, "This Black Eagle Hall, we must pay attention to it, lest we fall into their trap." Lu Qianqian said, "Disciple thinks, to avoid future trouble, the sect leader can lead us to destroy the evil sect first." Jun Changshao was taken aback. "Isn't that a little too cruel?" Lu Qianqian's eyes were cold. "It's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against an arrow in the dark. Rather than passively defending, it's better to take the initiative to attack, and eliminate any danger that appears in advance." Jun Changshao said, "Let's talk about this after the auction." He very much agreed with Lu Qianqian's suggestion. After all, Black Eagle Hall was an evil sect. Their way of doing things was no different from the Drizzle building. Once they took the initiative, they would be very passive. Jun Changshao was not afraid of coming to cause trouble in the open, but he was afraid of playing tricks behind their backs. The Spirit Spring sect was a good example. If they did not decisively attack and destroy them in one fell swoop, who knows what kind of trouble they would cause in the future. It's just an evil sect. On the way to Huyang City, Jun Changshao said to himself, destroying them is not a problem. He took Lu Qianqian's suggestion, and decided to eliminate any possible danger in the cradle in advance. This method was very correct. Because the Black Eagle Hall in Huayin County had not seen the return of the Vice Hall leader and his disciples, they had already begun to investigate this matter. As long as they found out that the disciples went to intercept the Iron Bone, and then lost contact, they would definitely come to Qingyang County to cause trouble. The evil sects would not reason with you, nor would they give you evidence. If there was any doubt, they would rather kill 1,000 than let go of one. Of course. The investigation also needed time. Since Jun Changshao had decided to destroy Black Eagle Hall, he should be able to act before them. Chapter 217. Huyang City. Jun Changshao walked in with Lu Qianqian. Because today was the day of the auction, cultivators could be seen everywhere on the main street. Judging from their attire, at least half of them were not from Azure Sun County. The news of the AI clan's healing pill and body-shaping pill had already spread throughout the county. Even though many cultivators couldn't afford it, they still wanted to broaden their horizons when they heard that many sects would be coming. The more lively Huyang City was, the happier Jun Changshao was. Because this way, there would be more people appearing and he would be able to earn more money. "Aya, isn't this sect head Jun?" Just as he was about to head to the auction, a clan head of Huyang City greeted him with a smile. Someone even greeted him. However, he didn't know him, so how should he greet him back? Jun Changshao thought for a moment and cupped his hands. Happy National Day. According to the time, his country was about to celebrate its 69th birthday. Thus, he decided to use this method to greet him back. National Day. Happy. The patriarch was dumbfounded by these words. Who is National Day? A person? Or is he referring to me? That's not right. My name is Jian Jun, not National Day. Sect Head Jun, Happy National Day. Sect Head Jun, Happy National Day. As Sect Head Jun walked, as long as someone greeted him, he would immediately return the greeting with grace. Thus, after walking for an entire street, all the people who greeted him were dumbfounded. They looked at each other, secretly guessing who was National Day and why was he happy. Speaking of which, why would a reputable person in Huyang City be so friendly to Jun Changshao? One had to know that because he had offended Haoqi Sect and 100 Sect Alliance, everyone would avoid him if he entered any city other than Azure Sun City. This was because of the AI clan. The Haoqi Sect supported Iron Bone and was willing to lend him 10 million taels. Their relationship was definitely strong. Since the AI clan cared so much, he had to establish a good relationship with them. As for the Haoqi Sect and 100 Sect Alliance. Sorry, we are clans of Huyang City. We must stand on the AI clan's side. AI Clan's Auction Venue. Jun Changxiao brought Lu Qianqian along the way and stopped at the entrance. Sect Master Jun AI Shanka, who was in charge of welcoming the guests, hurriedly said with a smile, "It's an honor to be able to participate in my AI family's auction." The major forces from the other counties all turned their heads. Was this little guy the Iron Bone sect leader who had previously defeated the Grand Qi sect? TSK. He looks very young. The world has changed. Even an 8th-rate sect can defeat a 6th-rate sect. When I first heard the news, I thought that it was just a rumor. It was only after I came to Azure Sun County that I realized that it was actually true. In my opinion, the Azure Sun County is too small. A 6th-rate sect like the Haoqi sect is probably inferior to a 7th-rate sect like ours. The upper echelons of the various forces discussed in low voices. An 8th-rate sect had defeated a 6th-rate sect. If it hadn't been proven over and over again, they would have found it hard to believe. I heard that Iron Bone is going to challenge the Sacred Spring sect soon. The Sacred Spring sect is a 5th-rate sect with a long history. The county it is in is also a place full of outstanding talents. Challenging them is tantamount to courting death. Taking over the position of sect leader at such a young age, you have the spirit of a newborn calf not fearing a tiger. This is worthy of praise. Jun Changxiao's arrival became a hot topic of discussion among all the forces. However, there was more of a hint of banter. Sect leader Jun AI Shanka whispered, "The forces like to talk about this and that. Don't take it to heart." Jun Changxiao said, "I won't." Their mouths were on other people's bodies, so they could say whatever they wanted. If he took it to heart, he would have been angered to death during the recruitment. "Please." AI Shanka cupped his hands. Jun Changxiao was about to enter the venue with Lu Qianqian. But just as he started, someone said, "Elder AI, sect leader Jun went in without even showing his card. Isn't that against the rules?" The one who spoke was a high-ranking member of a force from another county. "That's right." Someone followed up and said, "We are all lining up to show our cards." Iron Bone sect leader went in empty-handed. "Isn't that treating us differently?" This, AI Shanka was a little embarrassed. Because his relationship with Jun Changxiao was extraordinary, he didn't want him to show his VIP card at all. The cultivators from the other counties disagreed. They were lining up here to enter. How could an 8th-rate sect leader cut the line and enter? "Elder AI, you have to give us an explanation. Although we are not locals of Azure Sun County, we are all customers who have applied for a card. Now that we are lining up obediently, how can we explain it to someone who doesn't follow the rules? Could it be that in the eyes of the AI family, we, a 6th-rate and 7th-rate sect, are inferior to an 8th-rate sect in your county?" The forces from the other counties were pressing. To put it simply, they were deliberately targeting Jun Changxiao or the AI family. To put it bluntly, they were targeting the entire Azure Sun County. Although there was no war between the counties, they were still from different camps. Coming to someone else's territory, they definitely had to show some strength. Not to mention, the overall strength of Azure Sun County was low, and it was not worth mentioning in front of the rich counties. Many forces and even cultivators from the large counties had a sense of superiority. Regional attacks were even more serious in the Falling Star continent. In fact, because of some small grudges, it was normal for it to evolve into a war between counties. AI Shanka's expression became more and more ugly. Obviously, he didn't expect these people from the other counties to be so unreasonable. Sigh. Jun Changxiao sighed and retreated with Lu Qianqian. "Elder AI, what are the rules for entering the auction?" "Brat." One of them said, "You have to take out a platinum card to pass through this path. Otherwise, you will have to line up behind us. Brother Han, we need a gold card to enter this path. Do you think an 8th-rate sect can take it out?" You have to spend at least 5 million to obtain a gold card from the AI family. Not to mention an 8th-rate sect, even a 7th-rate sect might not have one. Haha, they are really poor. The forces from the other counties laughed. At the end of the line, the various forces from the Azure Sun County had an ugly expression on their faces. A moment ago, they were targeting the Iron Bone sect. Now, they were openly mocking the Azure Sun County. As long as the locals were a little bloodthirsty, they definitely wouldn't be able to take it. Jun Changshao wanted to keep a low profile, so he quietly took out his card and walked in. But when he saw how arrogant these people were, he immediately lost his temper. Elder AI. He pointed at the path from the other counties and said, "Only a gold card is qualified to enter this path." "Yeah." AI Shenker replied. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "I was just wondering why there are so many trash in the line. So it's just a bunch of gold scum who don't even have a platinum card." The word scum was obviously an insult. The forces from the other counties were instantly enraged. But just when they were about to attack, their expressions froze. This was because Jun Changshao had summoned his platinum card. Under the refraction of the sun, the card flickered and swept across their faces. It was so dazzling that they hurriedly closed their eyes. How could he have a platinum card? The AI family's platinum card was usually only available to the big shots of 6th-rate sects and above. Those below the 6th-rate sects couldn't get one no matter how much money they spent. A bunch of gold scum. Slowly line up. Jun Changshao waved his platinum card and said proudly, "I will be going in first." "Oh, right." After taking 2 steps, he stopped and turned back with a smile. "My 8th-rate sect is really stronger than your 6th-rate and 7th-rate sections." The forces from the other counties could only watch as he went in. Although their eyes were filled with anger, there was nothing they could do. After all, the other party had a platinum card while they had a gold card. Speaking of which, if a gold card was trash, then those with a bronze card would definitely feel inferior. However, when the forces from the Azure Sun County saw the expressions of the cultivators from the other counties as if they had eaten a fly, they immediately felt satisfied. Stop being so cocky and pretentious. Chapter 218. Sometimes, if you don't act cool, others will think you're a fool. Therefore, Jun Changshao could only take out his platinum card and swagger in front of a group of gold trash. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that this group of outer county forces was too arrogant, sect leader Jun definitely wouldn't want to be so ostentatious. Sigh. There was no one else like him who was so reluctant to act tough. The various forces of Azure Sun County were very comfortable now. They had long disliked this group of outer county forces who thought they were better than others. Jun Changshao took out his platinum card in front of everyone and smacked them in the face. This was undoubtedly very satisfying. However, an 8th-rate sect could have the highest standard card in the auction house. This made the forces of Azure Sun County realize that the Iron Bone and the AI family were very close. Oh my god! Sect leader Jun actually has a platinum card. This is a symbol of status that can't be bought with money. The surrounding cultivators of the Azure Sun County were shocked and their gazes were filled with respect. Inside the auction house, there was a slightly long passage with many famous paintings and antiques hanging on both sides. It was very luxurious. Jun Changshao led Lu Qianqian all the way and stopped at the huge auction house. In the middle of the auction house was the auction stage and there were rows of seats around it. These were the seats for bronze card users. Gold card users were on the 2nd floor and had a private room with a high vantage point. Platinum card users were on the 3rd floor. Not only did they have a private room, but the decorations inside were also luxurious. It was a symbol of status and nobility. Sect leader Jun. As soon as Jun Changshao stopped, the AI family head hurried over and said apologetically, please forgive me for not going out to meet you. There were already cultivators sitting on the bronze seats and they all looked over in surprise. The AI family had recently released 2 types of pills and their status in the hearts of the various forces had risen. No one expected them to be so polite to an 8th-rate sect leader. On the 2nd floor, the upper echelons of the various sects were also looking at Jun Changshao, who was standing at the entrance. Some were deep in thought, some were disdainful, and some were smiling. Is he Jun Changshao? In a luxurious single room on the 3rd floor, a woman in the prime of her youth stood in front of the window. Her gaze locked onto Jun Changshao as she whispered softly. This woman was in her early 20s. Her long black hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her waterfall-like bangs covered the left half of her beautiful face. Her skin was as fair and smooth as a pearl. His exposed right eye was as clear as a stream, and his entire body was surrounded by a noble aura that made people stay away from him. Jun Changshao couldn't detect the gazes of people of the same sex, but he could sense the gazes of people of the opposite sex. So, he instinctively raised his head and looked into the other party's eyes. This woman, is very beautiful. He only took a glance before withdrawing his gaze. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, Master AI still has to host the auction, but you have to personally welcome me. I'm really embarrassed. Sect Master Jun is an honored guest of the AI family. No matter how busy you are, you should come out and welcome him personally. The AI family head's voice was very loud. It was obvious that he wanted all the martial artists present to hear him. As a result, the various forces were even more curious about what the Iron Bone sect leader was capable of to be valued so highly by the AI family. Sect Master Jun, please go to the 3rd floor. AI Shang made a gesture of invitation and led Jun Changshao to the staircase. The 3rd floor. Could it be that the Iron Bone sect leader had a platinum card? The various forces' expressions changed, and they were even more shocked. Sect Master Jun, when they went up the stairs, AI Shang lowered his voice and said, the person you saw just now is the Palace Master of Miaohua Palace, Shi Jingxian. Jun Changshao said, I guessed it. Although it was just a quick glance, he could feel the aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. So, he immediately determined that this must be the Palace Master of Miaohua Palace. She was able to look him in the eyes without batting an eyelid even though he was super handsome. The 3 words extraordinary woman were enough to live up to her name. The system couldn't stand it anymore and said, I've never seen such a shameless person. What do you think? AI Shang smiled and said, isn't she as beautiful as a fairy? Ah. Jun Changshao said, she's not bad. The corner of AI Shang's mouth twitched, but when he saw Lu Qianqian following behind them, he couldn't help but think, this girl's looks are not inferior to the Palace Master of Miaohua Palace. No wonder Sect Master Jun said not bad. 3rd floor, private room. Jun Changshao and Lu Qianqian walked in. The room was very spacious, and the decorations were extremely luxurious. Even the sofas and chairs were obviously made of high-quality wood and fur. One word, extravagant. Jun Changshao was a little shocked, but he remained expressionless. After all, he was the sect master. Even if he entered the inner court of the palace, he couldn't act like he hadn't seen the world. Sect Master Jun, AI Family Master smiled and said, this AI still has to welcome the guests, so I won't disturb you. If you have any orders, you can inform the servants outside. Jun Changshao looked around carefully, then came to the window and found that the Palace Master of Miaohua Palace was in the opposite wing. Hee. This was the opposite wing. Coincidentally, Shi Jingxian was also standing by the window, and her gaze fell on Jun Changshao. The 2 of them were looking at each other from top to bottom, but now they were looking at each other from left to right. With so many people watching, it was a little inappropriate to stare at a beauty. But now that Sect Master Jun was standing in the room, there was no need to worry. You look at me, I look at you. At most, we'll hurt each other. This woman had fair skin. Although half of her face was covered by her bangs, she was still a great beauty. As expected. A world full of spiritual energy was the best place to nurture such a natural beauty. It was really inappropriate for a man and a woman to stare at each other. But the thick-skinned Jun Changshao wouldn't back down. You look at me, I look at you. At times like this, the girl would usually be the first to admit defeat. After all, she was more or less a little shy. But Shi Jingxian wasn't ordinary. She was still looking at our sect master Jun, and her gaze didn't waver or dodge at all. How could a woman be so thick-skinned? She dared to look at me, the super handsome man, in the eye. Very good, very good. Today, I'll show you what the ultimate electric eye is. Jun Changshao turned around and gave her a side attack. He flipped his hair coquettishly, and a smile appeared on his face. Hiss, hiss. In an instant, electricity flew out. But the palace master of Miaohua Palace didn't react at all. She still looked at Jun Changshao without any emotion in her eyes. Damn it. Is my charm that bad? Sect Master Jun, who was extremely confident in his looks, couldn't move a beauty even after using all his electricity. This was definitely a huge blow to his self-esteem. I don't believe it. Jun Changshao straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. Sometimes he frowned, sometimes he was depressed, sometimes he was deep in thought, and sometimes he was smiling like a spring breeze. He actually knew how to pick up girls. If anyone says that Sect Master Jun is single because of his strength, I'll get angry with him. The two of them looked at each other for a long time. Because it was a little long, Sect Master Jun's eyes were dry. I can't lose. I have to make her shy. Just as Jun Changshao made up his mind to defend his dignity as a man, Lu Qianqian walked over and glanced at Shi Jingxian. She said regretfully, although the palace master of Miaohua Palace is capable, it's a pity that she was born with an eye disease. Gah! Sect Master Jun was instantly petrified. Chapter 219. Jun Changshao showed his manliest and most handsome side to the fullest. However, Shi Jingxuan's eyes didn't waver at all, which made him unconvinced and angry. Come on, come on. I'll fight you for 300 rounds today. Let's see who will look away first. Although sect leader Jun was usually very decisive in managing the sect, she was more like a child when she was willful. Just like that, they looked at each other. His eyes were dry. Jun Changshao didn't even blink. He had to defend the dignity of a man and let this woman understand what it meant to be shy. However, when Lu Qianqian walked over and said those words, he froze on the spot. After a long time, Jun Changshao said with a wonderful expression, is this woman blind? Yes. Lu Qianqian said, she was born blind and abandoned by her parents in the wilderness. The former palace master of Miaohua Palace passed by and brought her back and raised her. So miserable. Looking at Shi Jingxian, Jun Changshao gradually realized that although her eyes were as clear as water, they were also empty and lifeless. Sure enough, she had an eye disease. No wonder she was called an extraordinary woman to be able to become the palace master of a fourth-rate sect even though she couldn't see the light. Lu Qianqian said, she probably came to the auction because she hoped that the healing pill could cure her eye disease. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, the healing pill is only used to heal injuries. How can it cure diseases? Sigh. How can I look at a girl with an eye disease? Jun Changshao retracted his gaze and strongly condemned his childish behavior just now. Sect leader Jun, Shi Jingxian, who was in front of the window, smiled and said, were you looking at me just now? Her smile was very bright, giving people a refreshing feeling like a spring breeze caressing their faces. What a pity. Such a beautiful girl has never seen the light or the great rivers and mountains between heaven and earth. Jun Changshao said, Jun has often heard people say that Palace Master Shi is an extraordinary woman of the falling star continent. Now that I've seen her today, it seems that the rumors are true. Shi Jingxian laughed and said, Sect leader Jun's iron bone was able to defeat the Hao Qi men, that's what I admire. This was true admiration, not the mockery and ridicule of those outside the county. Jun Changshao was just about to say something polite. A woman walked in front of Shi Jingxian, glared at him, and said, Palace Lord, when we came, Grand Elder said not to talk to strangers, especially this kind of indecent man. An indecent man? What did he mean? Am I not serious? Jun Changshao wanted to argue with the woman, but she had already helped Shi Jingxian away from the window. Qian. Jun Changshao said angrily, I'm not serious. Lu Qian said, judging from sect leaders' winking behavior just now, you are indeed not serious. Jun Changshao slumped on the chair powerlessly, howling in his heart, I'm just showing the most handsome side of a man. Sect leader. Lu Qian said, what do you think of this palace lord of Miaohua Palace? Jun Changshao said honestly, her voice is pleasant, and she looks very beautiful when she smiles. There was another meaning to his words. It was to tell his eldest disciple, when you can speak nicely, when you can smile. Lu Qian naturally couldn't tell. She still said coldly, you're only looking at the surface. As far as I know, this Shi Jingxian is a ruthless person. Oh. Jun Changshao said, how ruthless. There are rumors that after she took over as palace lord, she ordered her disciples to find her biological parents, Lu Qian said. That's human nature, Jun Changshao said. Lu Qian said, later, Shi Jingxian found her parents, and then killed them with her own hands. What? Jun Changshao's eyes widened. It was detestable to abandon one's own child. But as a son, there was definitely something wrong with one's mind if he killed his own father and mother. It was hard for sect leader Jun to imagine that such a beautiful and gentle woman would do such an extreme thing. A few years ago, a sixth-rate sect offended Miaohua Palace. Lu Qian said, 3 days later, all 5,000 members of the sect died in the training field. Even the livestock were not spared. Damn! Jun Changshao said in shock, that's too ruthless, isn't it? Sect leader Jun had also annihilated other sects, but every injustice had its perpetrator, and every debt had its debtor. He only killed the patriarch and elder of the Spirit Spring sect, and dismissed the remaining disciples. This kind of bloody and cruel annihilation was simply outrageous. Miaohua Palace is an evil sect. Righteous. That sixth-rate sect is an evil sect. Righteous. Since they're all righteous, why didn't anyone condemn them for annihilating a sixth-rate sect? Yes. Lu Qian said, the patriarch of the fourth-rate sect, the backer of the sixth-rate sect, went to Miaohua Palace to denounce them, but was severely injured by Shi Jingxian. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. That woman looked harmless, but she was actually so two-faced and cruel. Suddenly, a scene appeared in front of Jun Changshao's eyes. In a pitch-black room, Shi Jingxuan's back was facing him. Then, she slowly turned around, raised her blood-stained saber, and grinned malevolently at him. Thinking of this, sect leader Jun shuddered, thinking to himself, she really is a ruthless character. In a side room of Miaohua Palace. Shi Jingxian had just sat down when she smiled and said, Ironbone sect leader's voice sounds so young. Her exposed eyes were clear, but unfortunately, they were empty and lifeless. Palace Lord. The Miaohua Palace disciple named Li said, that guy looks like he's 18 years old. Shi Jingxian murmured, he must be an amazing man to be able to defeat a sixth-rate sect as an eighth-rate sect. Unfortunately, at this point, she lowered her head. She said rather dejectedly, I can't see what he looks like with my own eyes. Li's expression changed, and she hurriedly said, Palace Lord, this is an auction. Many factions are here. You mustn't think too much. Several Miaohua palace disciples were also terrified, and they rushed forward to comfort their palace lord. After a while, Shi Jingxian raised her head, and the dejection on her face was covered by a smile. She said, I know. Phew. Seeing their palace lord's smiling face, the disciples heaved a sigh of relief, and their tense minds gradually relaxed. Jun Changshao. Shi Jingxian murmured, if my eye disease is cured one day, I'll definitely see what kind of man you are. Li said, Palace Lord, don't think about an eighth-rate sect. It might be destroyed by others one day. A female disciple said, I heard that Iron Bone and Sacred Spring Sect have a 1-year agreement. If they lose, it'll be difficult for them to establish themselves in the Jianghu in the future. Huh. Shi Jingxian said in surprise, sect leader Jun is going to challenge a fifth-rate sect. Li said, don't you know your own strength? Why do you have to challenge Sacred Spring Sect? This is a classic case of courting death. So, Patriarch, don't worry. After the auction, go and find out when Iron Bone will challenge Sacred Spring Sect. If I'm free, I'll go and see, listen. Shi Jingxian said expectantly. The disciples were speechless. Why was their palace lord thinking about the unknown Iron Bone sect leader? Chapter 220. At the AI family's auction venue, the bronze area was already packed with people as various forces continued to pour in. They were all here to watch the show. The main bidders were in the private rooms on the second floor. Many forces were already rubbing their palms together after taking their seats. As for the third floor, which was the highest level, 2 fifth-rate sects came in one after another. When they found out that the fourth-rate Miaohua Palace was next to them, they immediately became low-key. In the eyes of the low-level sects, the fifth-rate sects were giants. In the eyes of the fifth-rate sects, the fourth-rate sects were also giants. They could not afford to offend them. Of course. Some of the sixth-rate sects also had platinum cards and were placed on the third floor. Because the people sitting in the rooms next to them might be the big shots of the fifth-rate sects, they were very careful, afraid that they would accidentally provoke them. However, when they saw Jun Changshao through the window, their eyes were filled with surprise. The elder of the sixth-rate Atlas sect was rather puzzled. Which sect's disciple is this? He looks very unfamiliar. Elder. A disciple whispered, this is the sect leader of Iron Bone, Jun Changshao. What? The elder said angrily, how can an eighth-rate sect be on the same level as us? The Atlas sect was a sixth-rate sect in the outer county. They were stronger than the Haoqi sect, so they were very arrogant. Naturally, they could not tolerate Iron Bone sitting on the third floor with them. When the other sects in the outer county learned that an eighth-rate sect was on the third floor, they also felt humiliated. They looked at Jun Changshao with disdain. If this was their own territory, they would have flipped the table. High-level sects had the dignity of high-level sections. It would definitely be degrading to be with low-level sections. However, they could not do anything because sect leader Jun had a platinum card. TSK. Catching the disdain and indifference in the eyes of the elders, Jun Changshao said, it seems that I'm sitting in a room that I shouldn't be sitting in. In their eyes, sect leader should be on the first floor, Lu Qianqian said. Are you angry? Jun Changshao said, come on, come and hit me. When the various forces were in position, AI Shang appeared on the auction stage. The noisy venue instantly fell silent. The AI family head said in a clear voice, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend the auction held by my AI family. Next, those who came here were all here for the medicinal pills. No one was willing to listen to official words, so they went straight to the point. Begin the medicinal pill auction. This sentence instantly ignited the atmosphere. Some of the various forces who were determined to obtain the pills stood up in their rooms. AI Shang waved his hand and placed a healing pill on the auction stage. I won't explain the effects of this healing pill. The starting price is 300,000, 300,000. Jun Changshao, who was sitting in the room, asked in surprise, the price is so high. The auction begins. As soon as AI Shang finished speaking, someone from the second floor shouted, 400,000, 500,000. Jun Changshao, who was watching the auction for the first time, felt the corners of his mouth twitch. It seemed like the 300,000 that the AI clan had set wasn't a problem at all. 1 million. At this moment, a clear voice came from the opposite room. Obviously, it was Shi Jingxian. Jun Changshao opened his eyes wide. Raising the price from 500,000 to 1 million, this woman was really ruthless. Thinking that she might need the healing pill to treat her eye disease, she would probably be willing to sell it even if it was 10 million. Thinking about it from another perspective, if he was blind and knew about the heaven-defying healing pill, he would definitely buy it at all costs. Girl. You are destined to be disappointed. Let's not talk about whether the healing pill can cure your eye disease. Just your realm alone is already limited. Jun Changshao didn't think that the palace lord's strength was only at the channel opening realm or the martial disciple realm. When Shi Jingxian called out the price of 1 million, the auction hall was silent. No one dared to follow suit. It wasn't that they didn't have the money, but they didn't dare to. They all knew that the voice came from the room of the Miaohua Palace. Wasn't she tired of living to compete with a fourth-rate sect? Jun Changshao touched his nose and said, this is not good. Shi Jingxian would definitely be satisfied with the price of 1 million. However, if the fifth-rate sect called out the price first, no one would dare to follow suit. How could they make a lot of money? The AI clan had also thought about this problem. That was why they set the price at 300,000. Moreover, the rules stated that if the same martial artist or force wanted to bid for the second pill, they would have to pay double the price. The starting price was 300,000. If the first pill was sold for 400,000, the second pill would be sold for 800,000. Therefore, the major sects could only buy one pill at the lowest price. There were a total of 20 healing pills in the auction this time. Many forces who were determined to get their hands on them all wanted to buy just one. Seeing that no one wanted to follow suit, AI Shangyao shouted 3 times and announced that the first healing pill was sold to the Miaohua Palace at the price of 1 million. In fact, he knew that the Miaohua Palace would participate in the auction. It would be good if they could offer 400,000. He didn't expect them to be rich enough to raise the price by 1 million. Master AI. Shi Jingxian said, can you bring the pills up first? Yes, of course. AI Shangyao hurried up to the 3rd floor and placed the healing pill on the table. He seemed to understand the woman's intention and emphasized again, Palace Lord Shi, the healing pill is only effective for channel opening realm and martial disciple realm cultivators. I understand. Shi Jingxian said. AI Shangyao didn't want to disturb her any further and quickly left. Can this seemingly ordinary pill really heal injuries in an instant? Li Er questioned. Although Shi Jingxian was blind, she could feel the presence of the pill. She gently pinched the pill and murmured, I hope a miracle happens. As she spoke, she gently opened her cherry lips and swallowed the pill. Unfortunately, even after the pill had taken effect in her body, her vision was still dark. Shi Jingxuan's expression was desolate. She lowered her head and said dejectedly, it still doesn't work. Palace Lord. Li hurriedly comforted her. Master AI said clearly that the pill is only effective for channel opening realm and martial disciple realm cultivators. It's reasonable that it can't heal your eyes. Yeah. A disciple agreed, perhaps, Master AI will refine an even stronger pill. At that time, it will definitely be able to heal your eyes. Seeing their palace lord depressed again, the disciples of the Miaohua Palace became nervous again. That makes sense. Shi Jingxian raised her head and smiled brightly. Phew! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Jun Changshao, who was in the opposite room, murmured, that woman should have already consumed the pill. She will definitely be disappointed if it doesn't work. Does it have anything to do with the sect master? Lu Qianshan suddenly asked. Jun Changshao was stunned. He said, it doesn't seem to be related. Master AI returned to the auction stage and continued to host the auction. When the second pill was called out, the fifth-rate sect on the third floor called out a bid of 400,000. The various forces that were about to open their mouths immediately stopped talking. They couldn't afford to offend a fourth-rate sect, nor could they afford to offend a fifth-rate sect. Master AI sighed inwardly when he saw that no one was bidding. He had already expected this result. So what if it was 400,000? After all, there was only one fourth-rate sect and two fifth-rate sect. Hongyun sect, 400,000 going once. Hongyun sect, 400,000 going twice. Hongyun sect, 400,000, just as Master AI raised his hammer, a voice rang out from the third floor, 500,000. Ga. AI Shang's expression froze. Because the bidder was Sect Master Jun. Chapter 221. When Jun Changshao called out 500,000, AI Shang's heart skipped a beat. What was sect leader Jun trying to do by bidding for a pill that he had refined himself? After all, he was a businessman. His brain worked quickly and immediately realized that Jun Changshao was trying to raise the price. That's right. Jun Changshao was raising the price. How could he let someone take away the pill that he had painstakingly refined for 400,000? The system complained, is it hard for the host to refine pills mechanically? Jun Changshao ignored the system and shifted his gaze to the Hongyun sect. He happened to meet the eyes of the elder who had called out the price, and a harmless smile appeared on his face. Despicable guy. Anger rose in the elder's heart. He had thought that he would definitely get the pill, but who would have thought that Iron Bone would suddenly appear just as the deal was about to be closed? This was not a matter of money, but a matter of the sect's honor. Where did a small eighth-rate sect get the guts to compete with a fifth-rate sect? Because of Jun Changshao's sudden bid, all the martial artists in the Bronze District looked over with playful smiles. Iron Bone dared to compete with the Hongyun sect. He was really something. Kid. The elder said in a low voice, are you sure you want to compete with the Hongyun sect? This was obviously a warning to Iron Bone. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, isn't the rule of the auction house to bid? Does Jun not have the right to bid? That was true. But why didn't he see who he was bidding with? Was there something wrong with Iron Bone's head? Why couldn't he figure out such a simple thing? That's right, that's right. If he was in his right mind, why would he set a one-year deal with the Sacred Spring sect? Thinking of this, the martial artists' smiles became even wider. They were very happy to see how Iron Bone would court death. Humph, the Hongyun sect elder snorted and said, 600,000. 700,000, Jun Changshao said. Hearing that he continued to bid, the elder's eyes burned with anger. There were so many forces present. He was deliberately going against the Hongyun sect. Sect leader Jun, the elder said with a sullen face, the younger generation will surpass us in time. AI. Jun Changshao said, I won't hide it from senior. There are injured people in the sect, so we must get the medicinal pills. Hearing this, the elder almost vomited blood. Why didn't you bid when the ingenious Flower Palace called out the price just now? Now that it's my fortune sect's turn, you're pressuring us step by step. Do you think that fifth-rate sects are easier to bully than fourth-rate sects? 800,000. The elder of the Hongyun sect shouted. 900,000, Jun Changshao raised the price again. The elder of the Hongyun sect narrowed his eyes and said, it seems that sect leader Jun is very rich. It's all right. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, I earned 10 million from the Haoqi sect. I don't mind spending 1 million or so. The corners of the mouths of the various sects twitched. They had heard that the Haoqi sect won 10 million from gambling. To be honest, it was a lot of money. However, acting as if he didn't care about money in front of a fifth-rate sect was truly arrogant. Damn it! An eighth-rate sect dares to flaunt their wealth in front of me. 5 million. The fortune sect master said in a deep voice. A sect had to have the dignity of a sect. If they wanted to raise the price, they had to be bold. I'll give up, Jun Changshao said. Gah. The elder of the Hongyun sect looked dazed. How could he not bid? How could he give up? By calling out 5 million, he had raised the price. If Iron Bone continued to bid, he would give up. The elder of the Hongyun sect was not stupid. He definitely couldn't afford to buy a healing pill at a high price. Since that lad thought that he was rich, he had to make him spend more money to buy it. At most, he would bid for the next one. It was a pity. Jun Changshao was not stupid either. He had deliberately raised the price. His ideal number was 1 million. He didn't expect that the other party would give up when he raised it to 5 million. It was all a trap. Hongyun sect, Hongyun sect, Hongyun sect, 5 million going thrice. Bam! The hammer struck the final bell. The elder of the Hongyun sect was tricked by Jun Changshao. He bought the second healing pill at 5 million. He was furious. Ai Shang glanced at him and said, Sect leader Jun, aren't you afraid of offending a fifth-rate sect? The auction continued. The starting price of the third healing pill was still 300,000. The Raindrop Pavilion, another fifth-rate sect that had been silent, called out 400,000. Without a doubt, no one dared to bid. At the same time, they all looked at the room where Iron Bone was, thinking, is this lad going to bid? 500,000, Jun Changshao said. Sure enough, this lad was challenging the fifth-rate sects again. 600,000, the young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion said indifferently. Lad, first you bid with the Hongyun sect, and now you're bidding with the Raindrop Pavilion. Have you eaten the guts of a leopard? 700,000, Jun Changshao said. 800,000, 900,000, 1 million. The young pavilion master was in his early 20s. He was in the prime of his life. How could he tolerate the arrogance of a sixth-rate sect? Give up. After reaching the price of 1 million, Jun Changshao gave up decisively. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. At this moment, they realized that this lad was deliberately raising the price. The Hongyun sect and the Raindrop Pavilion naturally saw it too. The disciples in the room glared at him. Jun Changshao did not care. These were all forces from outside the county. It was hard to say if he would meet them after the auction. If he offended them, so be it. Not to mention, it was just bidding for elixirs. If they cared about such a small amount of money, they would be narrow-minded. The two fifth-rate sects naturally did not care about a few 100,000 taels. What they cared about was this lad's malicious bidding. However, when the price of the fourth healing elixir began, Jun Changshao spoke first, 400,000. He was using his actions to tell the martial artists present that he really wanted to bid and was not deliberately causing trouble. The opportunity was here. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion immediately shouted, 500,000. Lad, you made me spend an extra 600,000 taels. How can I not pay a little to take it away? Young pavilion master. A disciple reminded, we just bought one. According to the auction house's rules, if you take it for 500,000, you have to pay 1 million taels of silver. The young pavilion master said, I just raised the price casually. If that lad follows, he will definitely give up. 600,000, 700,000. 800,000, 900,000. After shouting this price, the young pavilion master was ready to give up because the meaning was very simple. If I spend 1 million, you have to spend 100, give up. Gah. The young pavilion master was in a daze and then roared in his heart, how can he give up? Pa. The AI family head said, the Raindrop Pavilion bid 1 million for the 4th healing elixir. According to the rules, you have to pay 2 million. Everyone's mouth twitched violently. They all knew that the young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion deliberately raised the price and was tragically tricked. TSK Jun Changshao sat in the room, crossed his legs, and said indifferently, you want to fight with me? You are still too inexperienced. Despicable guy. The young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion was so angry that he clenched the armrest. The auction continued. In order to show that he was really bidding, after the AI family head shouted the price, Jun Changshao immediately said, 400,000. 50 W. The young pavilion master raised the price again. He had to trick that guy once. Otherwise, how could he live up to his identity as the young pavilion master of a fifth-rate sect? Give up. Gah. The young pavilion master was in a daze. This guy gave up way too quickly. Chapter 222. Dong. The gavel closed. Patriarch AI said loudly, the Raindrop Pavilion bid 500,000 for the 5th healing pill. According to the rules, you have to pay 1 million. The young pavilion master was trembling with anger. Although the healing pill's effect was strong, it was only limited to meridian opening and martial disciple. It was too much for him to buy 3 at once. Moreover, because of that guy, he had to spend 4 million. Jun Changshao laughed and said, the child of a rich guy, he's really generous with his money. Lu Qianqian, as the sect leader, I'm really good at cheating people. Next, Patriarch AI continued to auction the healing pills. Jun Changshao bid 400,000 as usual. The young pavilion master, who had been cheated 3 times, did not dare to continue. If he did not play, others did not dare to play either. They were afraid that they would be cheated by this guy. Dong. The AI family's patriarch announced that Jun Changshao had bought the healing pill for 400,000 yuan. The money would definitely not be paid. The AI family would also keep it for the next auction. Therefore, both parties did not suffer any losses. The 7th healing pill was auctioned. Jun Changshao stopped bidding. The 6th and 7th rate sects began to fight. The final price was set at 800,000. It was a normal price. The remaining 13 pills were bought by various forces for a total of more than 10 million. On average, the price was around 800,000. It was a new high. This was just the appetizer. The next 5 body-shaping pills were the most important. 2 fifth-rate sects had traveled thousands of miles just for this kind of pill. Everyone. After a short break, Patriarch AI took out the pills and said, this is the body-shaping pill that can strengthen the body. The starting price for the first pill is 2 million. Many martial artists in the Bronze District twitched their mouths. As expected. The price was higher than the previous auction. 2,100,000. The Fortune Sect's elder was the first to bid. 2,200,000, the young pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion followed. The 2 sects had reached a tacit agreement and did not bid for the healing pills. However, they would fight for the body-shaping pills. After all, there were only 5 of them, 2,300,000, 2,400,000. Watching them fight, Jun Changshao was amused. In the end, after a round of competition, the first molding pill was won by the pavilion master of the Raindrop Pavilion at a price of 5 million. 6th and 7th rate sects also participated in the auction, but they withdrew after the price reached 4 million. The big sects were just rich. They couldn't compare to them. The second body sculpting pill was also a fierce battle between two fifth-rate sections. In the end, it was won by the Fortune sect for 5 million. Initially, he thought that the two sects would stop fighting. Who would have thought that the pills would continue to fight? The sixth and seventh-rate sects could only sigh as they watched the price rise. In the end, the 5 body sculpting pills were divided between the Fortune sect and Raindrop Pavilion. The former bought 2 for 11 million, while the latter bought 3 for 16 million. TSK Tisk. Jun Changshao said, the sects from other counties are indeed rich. Ai Shan was unable to contain his joy. In this auction, he had expected the total price to be around 30 million, but in the end, he had sold it for nearly 40 million. Everyone. The Ai family's patriarch cupped his hands and said, this auction has come to an end, please come again next time. Gone, gone. The martial artists of the Bronze District began to leave in an orderly manner. On the way, they were all talking about the auction. As expected of a fifth-rate sect. They didn't think about money at all. It's a pity that the fourth-rate Miaohua Palace didn't participate. Otherwise, the three parties would have fought fiercely. In my opinion, the Palace Lord of Miaohua Palace came this time only for the healing pill. I wonder if it can cure her eye disease. The Ai family's patriarch repeatedly emphasized that the pill is only effective for meridian-opening martial disciples. Palace Lord Shi's cultivation base is at least Wuzong. It shouldn't be effective. Let's go. Jun Changshao left the room and happened to bump into the Raindrop Pavilion's young pavilion master who was walking behind him. Sect Master Jun, the young pavilion master said coldly, you're quite bold. Jun Changshao said, since it's an auction, it's only interesting if we bid together. With that, he left with Lu Qianqian. Despicable guy. Although the young pavilion master was very angry, he didn't have any other thoughts. For example, he wanted to cause trouble. It was just an auction. It would be beneath his status to cause trouble out of anger. Jun Changshao came to the staircase. Just as he was about to go down, he saw Shi Jingxian walking over with the help of a disciple. The woman's eyes were still empty. She shook her head and walked down with Lu Qianqian. Sect Master Jun Ai Shanka stood at the staircase on the first floor and said, please follow me to the VIP area. N. Jun Changshao knew that the Ai family wanted to split the money with him. If it was 40 million, he would get 16 million taels. As expected. After sending all the major sects away, Ai Shanka entered the VIP area and directly gave 20 million taels. Ai family's patriarch. Jun Changshao said in surprise, isn't it 40, 60? You gave a bit too much. Ai Shanka smiled and said, round it up, round it up. The Ai family only did publicity and made more than 10 million taels. They definitely wouldn't be greedy and take 60%. Jun won't be polite. Jun Changshao accepted the money and took out 50 healing pills and 10 body-shaping pills, saying, Jun is very satisfied with the cooperation with the Ai family. Please help me sell these pills. Ai Shanka was overjoyed. Sect Master Jun gave more and more pills each time, which meant that he trusted him and the Ai family more and more. Ai family head. Jun Changshao said, does your Ai family accept crystal cores? After training in Death Valley, he obtained a lot of crystal cores. He kept the high-quality ones for his own use and planned to sell the low-quality ones. Ai Shanka said, although my Ai family is involved in crystal cores, it can't compare to professional crystal core shops. The Ai clan specialized in medicinal pills and herbs, but their other businesses were more ordinary. Jun Changshao said, I have some crystal cores here. If Ai family head likes them, we can make another deal. Ai Shanka smiled and said, no problem. In order to win over this god of fortune, even if he had to sell it, he would definitely buy it. Schwa. Jun Changshao waved his hand and crystal cores of different colors were neatly arranged on the table. AI family head. He said, there aren't many, only 500 or so. You can name the price. AI family head's eyes widened. 500 or so crystal cores are not many. How much is considered many? AI family head picked up a red crystal core and said in surprise, Sect Master Jun, this is a red flame wolf's crystal core. Yes. Jun Changshao said. AI Shanka said solemnly, red flame wolves only exist in Death Valley. Did Sect Master Jun go in? Yes. Jun Changshao said, not long ago, I brought my disciples in for training. AI Shanka was shocked. No wonder he wasn't in the sect the last time. He brought his disciples to Death Valley to train. Wait. AI Shanka said in surprise, Sect Master Jun, you got all these crystal cores in Death Valley? Yes. Jun Changshao said. AI Shanka didn't say anything. His heart was in turmoil. Not every beast had a crystal core. Sect Master Jun took out 500 of them. How many did he kill in there? Not many. He killed almost all of them. AI Shanka checked the level of the crystal cores one by one. When he finished checking all 500 of them, the shock in his heart became stronger. The crystal cores in there were not only comparable to those of peak martial masters, but also many types of ferocious beasts. Without enough people and strength, it was impossible to exterminate such a group of ferocious beasts. Even if Qin Haran went in with the sect's elites, it would be impossible. Sect Master Jun's iron bone was really amazing. Sect Master Jun, after thinking for a while, AI family head said, my AI family is willing to buy these crystal cores for 10 million. There were many low-grade crystal cores. For example, the Earth Flame Wolf's crystal core was worth at most 1,000 taels. However, there were also many mid-grade ones. If Sect Master Jun took out the high-grade crystal cores, AI family head would probably use all the money he just earned to buy them. Okay. The two went through the procedure and signed. When Jun Changshao put the 10 million taels of silver into his spatial ring, a beautiful system notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, Gold and Jade Pile. You have gained 200 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 285-1000. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, Gold and Jade Pile. You have triggered the hidden reward. The storage of the spatial ring has increased by 5 times. Chapter 223. Piling up gold and jade meant that one had enough wealth. After splitting the profits and crystal cores, Jun Changxiao's wealth had reached 50 million. Therefore, he had fulfilled the system's requirement and completed the hidden mission. Sigh. Looks like I have to think about idioms when I have time. Maybe I can complete some hidden missions related to idioms. Jun Changxiao's mind entered the interspatial ring and found that the storage space inside had increased by a lot. The interspatial ring was a gift from the activation system. The storage space was not small to begin with. Now that it had increased by 5 times, it could be considered large. It has expanded by a lot. It will be more comfortable to store things in the future. Jun Changxiao said, Patriarch AI, does your AI clan sell spirit stones? This, AI Shang shook his head and said, my AI clan does not have a spirit stone business. It was not that they did not want to, but that they could not. This was because this business was monopolized by large business empires. More importantly, spirit masters that could refine spirit stones were too rare. Even if the AI clan wanted to open a spirit stone store, they would not be able to hire anyone. All right. Jun Changxiao stood up and cupped his hands, Patriarch AI, Jun still has something to do. I will take my leave first. Under the escort of Patriarch Ai, he left the auction house with Lu Qianqian. They did not return to the sect directly. Instead, they went to the market. In the most prosperous area of the market in Huyang City, there was a luxuriously decorated shop with the words Tangji Spirit Stone Store written on the signboard. Tangji referred to the Tang clan. It was one of the top clans in the Falling Star continent. At the same time, it was a business clan that was as rich as a country. The Spirit Stone stores in the 8 cities of Qingyang County. They were all opened by the Tang clan. A business clan like the Ai clan was not even worth mentioning in front of the Tang clan. Fortunately, the Tang clan mainly focused on spirit stones and did not invest much in elixirs and herbs. This allowed the Ai clan to occupy nearly 60% of the market in Qingyang County. Tangji was the only spirit stone store in Huyang City. Jun Changshao could only come here if he wanted to buy spirit stones. After bringing Lu Qianqian in, he spent 10 million taels to exchange for 1,000 crystal cores. He had a lot of money and did not lack high-grade crystal cores. Buying spirit stones was the wisest choice. Tsk tisk. After watching him leave, the Tangji shopkeeper said in surprise, "This iron-boned sect leader is really rich." A cultivator who was exchanging spirit stones joked, "Just now at the auction house, Sect Master Jun even dared to show off his wealth in front of 2 fifth-rate sections." The Fortune Sect and Raindrop Listening Pavilion are both famous sects, they wouldn't bother with a low-grade sect. If it was any other sect, they would definitely be in trouble. Don't worry, don't worry. When he goes to the Sacred Spring Sect, he will definitely be in trouble. These mocking martial artists were from the 100 Sect Alliance. As long as they had the chance, they would definitely mock Iron Bone. After leaving the Spirit Stone shop, Jun Changshao walked around the market and bought a lot of different quality ores for 1,000,000 yuan. The materials could wait for the refinement process, but the refinement process could not wait for the materials. Therefore, it was better to prepare for a rainy day. I have to buy some ingredients for Dudu. Jun Changshao went to the grocery store and bought a lot of condiments, rice, and vegetable seeds. After everything was settled, he brought Lu Qianqian back home. The trip to the auction house had earned him a lot of money, and he had also witnessed the wealth of a large sect. They did not even blink when auctioning off millions of yuan. With money, one could really do whatever they wanted. Sect Master. On the way, Lu Qianqian asked, "When are we going to destroy Black Eagle Hall?" Jun Changshao might have forgotten about this matter, but she would always remember it in her heart. "Let's talk about it when we return to the sect." Sect Master, are you going to bring junior brothers to destroy Black Eagle Hall? Otherwise? That is an evil sect. Their methods are cruel. Why not just the 2 of us? Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Although he did not put Black Eagle Hall in his eyes, it was still a 7th-rate sect. It was too disrespectful to destroy it with just the 2 of them. Lu Qianqian asked, "Sect Master, are you afraid?" "I'm not afraid." Jun Changshao said, "I feel that this is a rare experience. Bringing the disciples can help them adapt to the cruel world." "Okay." Lu Qianqian did not say anything else. She only gave her opinion at the appropriate time. The sect master had his own ideas and would definitely not object. This was Lu Qianqian. Although she was cold all day, as a member of the Iron Bone, she would definitely listen to the sect master's orders. In the evening, Jun Changshao returned to the sect. The disciples were still cultivating as usual. He first handed the ingredients to Lu Wanshi, then summoned Li Qingyang and told him about the plan to destroy Black Eagle Hall. "Sect Master." Li Qingyang said solemnly, "The idea of destroying Black Eagle Hall is a bit bold. However." He paused and said, "This kind of evil sect is indeed very dangerous. Since they have a grudge with the Iron Bone, they will come to us sooner or later." Agreed? This disciple will do whatever the sect master says. Li Qingyang and Lu Qianqian were the same. Ever since they became Iron Bone disciples, they followed the sect master's lead and would never disobey him. Jun Changshao said, "Go and inform the disciples who are training in Death Valley to gather at the inner yard martial arts practice field tomorrow morning." Yes. Li Qingyang left. Jun Changshao summoned Li Luoqiu and told her about the idea of destroying Black Eagle Hall. He also ordered her to gather the members of the Drizzle Hall to go with them. Destroying a seventh-rate sect was not a child's play. Bringing the members of the Drizzle Hall there would undoubtedly be a lot of protection. Li Luoqiu, who used to be an assassin, was definitely interested in killing people. So she said, "I'll take them and go first." Okay. Jun Changshao nodded. That night, Li Luoqiu left with Viper, Lynx, and 50 members. During this period of time, although they mainly investigated for information, they did not neglect their cultivation. With the help of the molding pill and the molding room, their strength had increased significantly. Viper and Lynx had also successfully entered rank 1 martial master from peak martial disciple. If they were still assassins, it would be difficult for them to improve. Hall Master. On the way, Viper said, "Brothers, we've been bored to death. This time, we can finally exercise our muscles and bones." Li Luoqiu said with a serious expression, "Black Eagle Hall is an evil sect. It's not a small matter. Everyone, be serious." Okay. Viper nodded. Also. Li Luoqiu added, "We're now Iron Bone disciples. What we do is for the sect. Don't act recklessly when you're on the move. Listen to orders." Yes. The members of the Drizzle Hall said in unison. Swoosh. Swoosh. Under the night, more than 50 ghost-like members of the Drizzle Hall shuttled through the forest and headed towards Huayin County at full speed. Finally, we can show off. Li Tian also followed. Although he was only a rank 2 martial disciple, under Hall Master Li's dozens of days of training, he had already grasped many assassin skills. Especially after adapting to the cruel training, in order to become stronger, he would often train in the body technique training room for most of the night. Jun Changshao provided a lot of resources for the disciples. Although their spirit roots were not as good, as long as they were willing to work hard, they would definitely become stronger. Sect Master. Li Tian used ghostly steps and followed the group. He said in his heart, "You gave me a pair of wings. I will prove to you that I, Li Tian, can definitely ascend to the heavens." Aya. Viper pulled his ear and said, "Little brat, what are you thinking? Hurry up and don't fall behind." Brother Snake. Li Tian grimaced and said, "Can you be gentler?" Viper let go of his hand and reprimanded, "As an assassin, when you're on the move, you can't be distracted." I know. Li Tian said. Other than the first day where Hall Master Li personally trained, Viper was in charge of the rest. Although he scolded him a lot in his heart, he was still very grateful. Because without such a strict instructor, he wouldn't have his current achievements. Brother Snake. Li Tian grinned and said, "When we reach Black Eagle Hall, I'll show you." Forget it. Viper curled his lips and joked, "Just don't drag me down when the time comes." Chapter 224. The next day. Jun Changshao arranged everything and set off with Li Qingyang and the others. After 3 days of traveling, they entered the territory of Huayin County and were ordered to change into black clothes. To deal with a righteous sect like the Haoqi sect, they could openly challenge them. To deal with an evil sect like the Black Eagle Hall, they naturally had to use another method. What method? That would be to use sneak attacks and backstabbing. If it weren't for the fact that the opening talisman was too precious and they were only willing to use it in times of danger. Otherwise, sect leader Jun wouldn't have gone through so much trouble and directly dragged a 40-meter-long broadsword into the Black Eagle Hall. Sect leader. After changing into black clothes, Yi Xingchen said lightly, "It's just to destroy a seventh-rate sect. Why bring so many people? I can handle it alone." Night Emperor was still so strong. Not to mention that during this period of time, his physical strength had obviously improved a lot after tempering his body in the Tower of Experience. The muscles in his chest, abdomen, and arms bulged, but they weren't at an explosive level. Instead, they were very uniform and perfect. It wasn't just the physical body that improved. Yi Xingchen's cultivation didn't go to waste. After returning for more than half a month, he also stepped into the peak of the martial disciple realm. When he was just reborn, Li Qingyang already had the cultivation of a martial disciple after participating in the sect competition. Now Yi Xingchen caught up and broke through to the peak of the martial disciple realm faster than him. What did this mean? As expected of the reborn martial emperor? Wrong, because the Taixuan Sutra above the divine level was indeed very mysterious. It was one of the two mantras left by the Taixuan elder. Yi Xingchen had been comprehending it since his rebirth. Although he had only comprehended the second level, he had benefited a lot. Otherwise, he wouldn't have broken through so quickly. Based on the current situation, it was worth it to die for this thing. What was more worth it was that he was forced to join the Iron Bone and had all kinds of resources. According to the plot of a normal novel, after the rebirth of a martial emperor, he would either enter a school or a sect. He would have all kinds of competitions for fun. He would have to beat the younger ones and the older ones would come. Every day, he would either step on the face of the villain or step on the road to face of the villain. What about our Night Emperor? If he joined Iron Bone, he would be able to get resources if he performed well. He didn't even have to go to all kinds of competitions or face smacking villains. He could cultivate happily and live a very comfortable life. Xiao Ziji was the same. After joining Iron Bone, with the resources provided by the sect leader, there was no need for him to walk the bumpy path of becoming the main character. All he had to do was focus on cultivating and becoming stronger. This made things difficult for Jun Changshao. As the leader of a sect, if he wanted the sect and his disciples to become stronger, he could only continue to earn money to support his family. Sigh. It was hard to be the main character, but it was even harder to be the sect leader. Yi Xingchen would not be satisfied with the current situation. He still had a vengeance to take, so he needed to obtain more resources to improve himself. That was why he had volunteered to destroy the Black Eagle Hall. It was a pity. Even if Night Emperor really had the ability to annihilate a seventh-rate sect, Jun Changshao wouldn't let him go alone. After all, the other disciples also needed to gain experience. There was a mountain in Huaying County. Because eagle beasts circled around it all year round, it was called the Black Eagle Mountain. 100 years ago, an evil cultivator accidentally passed by this place. Seeing that it was full of spiritual energy, he set up a sect here and created the Black Eagle Hall. Because he walked the evil path, the Black Eagle Hall went from a non-rated sect to a seventh-rated sect in a short period of time. To achieve this in 100 years was really commendable. A few decades ago, the first Hall Master left the sect in pursuit of a higher realm. His eldest disciple, Lai Haisha, succeeded him as the second Hall Master. Lai Haisha was a ruthless and cruel person. He often robbed other forces and itinerant cultivators, so the sect developed even faster. Black Eagle Mountain. The mountains were connected and undulating. The valley at the waist of the mountain seemed to have been split open by a giant axe, and the river water rushed in aggressively. At the top of the mountain, there were large and small buildings arranged. That was the headquarters of the Black Eagle Hall. At this moment, in the main hall of the Black Eagle Hall, the Hall Master, Lai Haisha, was sitting at the head of the table, a strong murderous intent between his brows. Vice Hall Master He Qin brought more than 60 disciples to Death Valley to train for more than half a month and did not return. He felt that something was wrong and sent people to investigate. The news came early this morning. Vice Hall Master He came to Death Valley and learned from the itinerant cultivators that Iron Bone came out from there. He brought his men and chased after them. Then, they lost contact. Hall Master. Another Vice Hall Master read the letter and said, Vice Hall Master he has not returned yet. I'm afraid he met with an accident. Iron Bone definitely has something to do with it. Crack. The ruthless and cruel Lai Haisha crushed the teacup, his eyes filled with murderous intent, gather the brothers and follow me to Iron Bone. It was really as Jun Changshao thought. This kind of evil sect, as long as they suspected him, would not ask for any evidence and would bring people to kill him. Yes. The Vice Hall Master hurriedly left. Humph. Lai Haisha's murderous intent became more and more intense, and said, Iron Bone dares to kill my people, then there is no need for it to exist. It was obvious that he was going to exterminate the sect. Hall Master. Sitting at the head of the table, a middle-aged man with a goatee wearing a long robe said with a serious expression, This Iron Bone is not simple. His name was Yang Ji. His cultivation was not high, but he was the military advisor of Black Eagle Hall. Robberies and whatnot were all arranged and planned by him. After doing so many robberies, he rarely failed. Oh. Lai Haisha said, how is it not simple? Yang Ji said, as far as I know, this Iron Bone went to challenge Vast Chi Sect some time ago. Lai Haisha was stunned, and said in surprise, is this sect also a sixth-rate sect? They dared to challenge a sixth-rate sect. If it was a sixth-rate sect, they had to be careful. They could not rush over so impulsively, they had to play dirty. Yang Ji said, Iron Bone is a ninth. Oh, no, an eighth-rate sect that just recently advanced. What? Lai Haisha's eyes widened, and said, a newly advanced eighth-rate sect wants to challenge a sixth-rate sect like Vast Chi Sect? Yang Ji said, I went to the city to buy things, and when I heard the news, I found it hard to believe. Lai Haisha laughed, they dared to challenge Qin Haran, they must have been beaten to a pulp. Exactly the opposite. Yang Ji said, the ones who were beaten were Qin Haran and his personal disciples. The details were unknown. After all, this happened in Azure Sun County, and the only way to find out was through hearsay. Bullshit. Lai Haisha slammed the table, how can a bullshit eighth-rate sect beat Qin Haran? Mr. Yang must have heard rumors. Hall Master. Yang Ji said seriously, this might not be groundless. I think that since we are going to deal with Iron Bone, we have to think about it carefully. We cannot act rashly. Lai Haisha trusted him a lot, because most of the time, his advice was very important, and he had prevented many casualties during robberies. Mr. Yang. He said, in your opinion, what should we do? Yang Ji said, as of now, we can't be sure if Iron Bone is the culprit. We can send people to use the blood recognition art to confirm if they have the blood of Vice Hall Master He and the others. What if they do? Lai Haisha said. Yang Ji narrowed his small eyes and said coldly, we can block Iron Bone outside, and kill every disciple that comes out. Let them die with grievances. If Jun Changshao heard this, he would definitely take out the Desert Eagle and shoot him, because he hated such tricks the most. Okay. Lai Haisha said, let the hunting team go, with their strength, they should be able to cause a ruckus in Iron Bone. The so-called blood recognition art was a rather evil technique. As for the hunting team, it was the elite department of Black Eagle Hall. Hall Master Lai sent them, and once they confirmed the blood of the Vice Hall Master, they would use all kinds of cruel methods. Unfortunately. While the two of them were discussing here, at the foot of the mountain, Jun Changshao had already met up with Li Luoqiu, who had arrived first, and began to plan to destroy Black Eagle Hall. Chapter 225. Li Luoqiu came to the Black Eagle Mountain a day earlier and made a mark on the road. She successfully met up with Jun Changshao later. During this period, she explored the terrain of the Black Eagle Mountain and made a simple terrain. There were specializations in this field. If it was our Night Emperor, he would definitely not be able to do it. Jun Changshao carefully observed the terrain of the Black Eagle Mountain and began to think about how to destroy the Black Eagle Hall. Take the disciples and kill them. Only someone with a screw loose would do such a thing. After a long time, Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "We don't know if there are any traps in the Black Eagle Mountain. Guard this only intersection and sneak out." This guy thought the same as Yang Ji, squatting at the entrance of other people's territory to play tricks. Li Luoqiu said, "It has been more than half a month since the leader killed the Black Eagle Hall. They should have already begun to investigate. If they get the news, they will definitely take action. Hiding at the intersection and sneak attack is the safest way." She had long been equipped with a Type 88 sniper rifle and naturally hoped to sneak in. After careful consideration, Jun Changshao immediately ordered the disciples to guard the only entrance and exit of the Black Eagle Mountain. The members of the Drizzle Hall led by Li Luoqiu formed a group, lurking on the right and setting up the Type 88 sniper rifle. Jun Changshao was in charge of the left side and ordered Xiao Ziji to stand on the tallest tree and also set up the Type 88 sniper rifle. Unfortunately, there were no Italian cannons. Otherwise, standing at the foot of the mountain and directly bombarding the headquarters of the Black Eagle Hall would be really cool. Viper and more than 10 members lurked 200 meters above. Brother Snake. Li Tian also followed and nervously whispered, Are we going to kill someone?" Hiding in the dark, Brother Snake kicked his leg and whispered, "Don't fucking tremble, go to the tree and observe." Li Tian jumped to the tree, his legs still trembling, so he said with a bitter face, "I don't want to, but I can't control myself." Even though he was a native of the Falling Star continent, he had only killed chickens and ducks in his life. He had never killed a human before. He might have been arrogant when he first arrived, but when it came to the battlefield, his legs would definitely go limp. Zhang Wei and the others had been training in Death Valley and had only killed ferocious beasts, so they were a little nervous. Among the disciples present, Yi Xingchen was the calmest because he had killed too many people in his previous life. The reason why Jun Changshao brought them here was to temper their temperament so that they could adapt to the cruelty of this world. They were not like a bunch of greenhouse flowers who only knew how to cultivate in a sect. Sect leader. On the tree, Xiao Ziji leaned his eyes against the 8x scope and whispered, "Someone is coming down from the mountain." "How much?" Jun Changshao asked. Xiao Ziji kept his eyes on the mountain gate of Black Eagle Hall and said, "About 100 or so." "So many?" Jun Changshao stroked his chin and murmured, "Could it be that they found out that their companions have been killed, and are now going after my iron bone?" Sect leader. Li Luoqiu also saw them through the 8x scope and whispered, "These people's footsteps are steady. They shouldn't be weak. Give me the gun." Shwa. Xiao Ziji habitually handed over the Type 88 sniper rifle. Jun Changshao put on his dazzling sunglasses and relied on the 8x scope to spy on the strength of the group of people. Among these 100 Black Eagle Hall disciples, the lowest was a level 5 martial disciple. Among them, there were more than 20 peak martial disciples and 2 level 1 martial masters. TSK. Jun Changshao whispered, "They're quite strong. More than 100 people, and the lowest was a level 5 martial disciple. They were definitely going to cause trouble. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made such a big move." Sect leader. Li Luoqiu had been observing and said, "They're going to the Iron Bone." "Huh?" Jun Changshao said, "How do you know?" Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "As a professional killer, knowing how to read lips is very important." Damn it. At such a long distance, through the 8x scope, reading the lip movements when they spoke, this was too professional. Viper, Lynx, and the others were envious. In the Drizzle building, the boss was the only one who could read lips. They had learned it before, but they couldn't grasp the essentials. On the stone steps on the mountainside, the leader of the hunting group walked in front, and the deputy leader and a group of members followed closely behind. Because they were going to investigate first, they weren't in a hurry. Big brother, the deputy leader said disdainfully, isn't it a bit of a fuss for the boss to send us to investigate an 8th-rate sect? Yes. A member said, our hunting group fought with a 6th-rate sect in the past. Now we're going to investigate a small iron bone. Isn't it overkill? The leader was also unhappy, but said, don't complain. Since the boss gave the order, our hunting group must complete it smoothly. Big brother, the deputy leader said, the boss said that as long as we confirm the deputy leader's blood, we can take action. In my opinion, when the time comes, we should kill Iron Bone directly. There's no need to play tricks outside. Mr. Yang said that Iron Bone isn't simple. It's better for us to be cautious, the leader said seriously. Tisk, which Mr. Yang again? The deputy leader and the others were full of contempt and disdain. Evil sect martial cultivators were particular about brutality and killing. They hated people who had to think twice about everything. If it wasn't for the fact that the hall leader trusted him, he wouldn't have listened to his orders before every operation. Hee hee. A member laughed evilly and said, Big brother, I heard that the girls in Azure Sun County are very beautiful. Iron Bone must have a lot of female disciples. Ha ha ha. Another member joked, but Face, you haven't even gone down the mountain, and you're already thinking about women? But Face is full of fire. If he doesn't see a woman for a day, he'll jump over the wall. In my opinion, if he doesn't control his desires, he'll die in the hands of women sooner or later. Everyone made fun of him. The member called Buttface shouted, isn't there a good saying? If I die in the hands of a peony, I'll be a romantic ghost. I like women, and I'm happy to die in the hands of women. The leader laughed and said, we haven't done anything for a while, and we've been holding back for a long time. When we confirm that Iron Bone is the murderer, you can vent on their female disciples. Buttface's eyes flashed with a wicked light. The other members who liked women were also looking forward to it. Therefore, on the way down the mountain, the conversation revolved around women in Azure Sun County in Iron Bone's female disciples. After deciphering every word they said, Li Luochio's seductive eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent and said, today, all of you will die. Jun Changshao was also looking through the 8x scope. Although he didn't activate the enhancement mode and couldn't eavesdrop on their conversation, he could tell from their wretched smiles that they were definitely talking shamelessly. From Li Luochio's tone, he could tell that they were talking about his Iron Bone. Therefore, his gaze became cold and fierce as he said, let them down and kill them all. The disciples received the order and started to mobilize their spiritual energy. Li Yuhua and some of the disciples summoned their iron shields and overlord spears. The members of the Drizzle Hall who were hiding in the dark also held all kinds of hidden weapons in their hands. As long as this group of people entered their attack range, they would mercilessly attack them. The atmosphere became austere. The members of the hunting team who came down from the mountain obviously didn't expect that there would be an ambush at their door. They were still talking about women without restraint, and because they were getting closer and closer, unbearable words were heard. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Qianqian's bright eyes were cold, and she started to gather cold air in her hands. At this moment, the leader seemed to have noticed something. He looked at the bushes on the right side of the stairs and said coldly, someone's there. The members who were still smiling wretchedly instantly became serious. They all looked over and locked their eyes on Li Tian, who was squatting on a tree and trembling. Damn it! Viper, who was hiding in the dark, was having a mental breakdown and said, this is a stupid teammate. Chapter 226 Li Tian, who was on his first mission, was too nervous. His legs trembled uncontrollably. Especially when he saw the group of vicious hunting team members coming down the mountain path, his nervousness and apprehension became even stronger. In the end, he was exposed. Viper, who was hiding nearby, was roaring in his heart. What kind of people did I train? He exposed himself before he even entered the ambush. The team leader looked at Li Tian and said coldly, "Kill him." Swish swish swish. As soon as he finished speaking, the hunting team members had already waved their arms. All kinds of hidden weapons shot out with streaks of light. Li Tian, who was already nervous, suddenly turned pale. His mind went blank, and all his escape skills flew to the sky. He just stood on the tree like a fool, completely forgetting to hide. Swish! Venomous snake leaped from another tree and kicked the trembling Li Tian down. Poochie! Poochie! More than 10 hidden weapons nailed him in an instant, and he fell to the ground with a ferocious expression. Li Tian, who staggered and fell, finally regained his senses. But when he saw Viper land in front of him with hidden weapons on his back and blood spurting out, he said in horror, "Brother! Brother Snake, what a fucking pig of a teammate." Viper endured the excruciating pain and roared, "Let's go." This voice was like a blow to the head, instantly waking Li Tian, who was at a loss. Just as he was about to stand up, the deputy team leader strode over with a pitch-black whip in his hand. "How dare you hide in my Black Eagle Hall's territory? You must be tired of living." Smack! The long whip lashed out and hit Viper's back directly. His clothes were torn, and a deep red whip mark appeared, causing his expression to turn ferocious. "Run! Run!" Viper roared in pain, as if he had used up the last of his strength. On the way to Huayin County, he had joked that he should not be dragged down by this kid. Now it seemed that his mouth had been blessed. Looking at Brother Snake's painful appearance and the blood that kept spurting out, Li Tian clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug into his flesh. "You bunch of brats, listen carefully. As an assassin, no matter how dangerous the situation is, you must remain absolutely calm. If your companions are in danger, the first thing you should do is to ensure your own safety. Don't be rash and try to rescue them. That will only cause both of you to fall into an irrecoverable situation. Let me emphasize it again. The rule of an assassin is that once your whereabouts are exposed, you must escape at once without any hesitation." The words that Viper had once taught him and the others kept ringing in his ears, causing him to calm down. Don't panic, don't panic. The only thing he could do now was to run away. Li Tian's legs no longer trembled, and he stood up with a swoosh. His killer skills that had flown up to the 9 heavens returned to his body, allowing him to use ghostly leap. Shwa! He spread his legs like a ghost. However, Li Tian did not follow the assassin's rules. He didn't run away. Instead, he rushed forward with large strides and picked up Viper as the deputy team leader waved his whip. Pa! The long whip lashed out, but it hit empty air. Li Tian hugged the poisonous snake and ran away like a wild horse. On the way, his tears fell like rain as he cried loudly, "Brother Snake, I was wrong. Brother Snake, don't die." Because he ran too fast and didn't care about Brother Snake's injuries, he directly bumped him until he vomited blood. In the end, he rolled his eyes and fainted. "Don't let him escape," the team leader shouted. Swoosh! 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 More than 10 members of the hunting group shot out their hidden weapons wildly. Li Tian, who was only a second-grade martial disciple, seemed to have ignited a small universe. He ran in all kinds of coquettish ways, causing people's scalps to tingle. The hidden weapons flew past him again and again. If they were not nailed to a tree, they were nailed to a rock and bounced off. Damn it! A member used his movement technique and overtook Li Tian around the bend. The sharp sword in his hand shone with the support of spiritual energy. Die. When Li Tian was forced to come over, he raised his hand and slashed. Bang! A stream of light shot from the side and directly pierced through his temple. Blood sprayed a few meters and splashed on Li Tian's face, who happened to be running over. It was a little hot, a little hot. Ah ah! Li Tian screamed. He ignited a small universe for the second time and fled frantically. This wronged viper who was being held. He had already fainted and was still vomiting blood from the bumps. If he was awake, he would definitely say, "I can still be saved." Little 7. Seeing their subordinate's head being shot through, the team leader and deputy team leader roared angrily. Bang! At this moment, one of their subordinates was shot through the head and fell straight to the ground. Whoosh! 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 In the distance, Li Luoqiu stood on a tree and fired 3 more shots in succession, killing another 3 targets. With a shooting talent that was not inferior to Xiao Ziji's, coupled with the 8x scope and silencer, she was very good at sneaking up on people. Big brother! The deputy team leader exclaimed, "What kind of hidden weapon is this?" Although the team leader was furious, he still ordered, "There are still people in the dark. Everyone, be careful." Rustle rustle rustle. Dozens of black shadows scuttled over from both sides like a group of ghosts. Jun Changxiao's plan was to wait for these people to come down the mountain and ambush them at the intersection. However, Li Tian was exposed in advance, so they could only carry out the plan of annihilation on the mountain path. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the other side, Xiao Ziji continuously pulled the trigger. Only the sound of wind breaking could be heard. One by one, the members of the hunting team were killed on the ground. Against high-level beasts, the Type 88 sniper rifle's power was limited. However, against a group of martial disciples, it could really kill anyone. Following Xiao Ziji and Li Luoqiu's continuous kills, the members of the hunting team suddenly became confused. After all, this kind of hidden weapon that appeared and disappeared mysteriously killed people every time. It was too terrifying. Retreat. The team leader realized that something was wrong and made a prompt decision. However, when he turned around, he saw a muscular man sitting on the stairs of the mountain path. This person's hands were placed on his thighs. His 10 fingers were clasped together, supporting his chin. His black hair fluttered in the wind, revealing a cold and stern face. Beside him was a sword. Although it was not out of its sheath, it was emitting a cold aura. Who was it? Yi Xingqian. He just sat quietly on the stone steps. His whole body emitted an aura that seemed to be able to hold back 10,000 men. Clang! Clang! The sound of scabbards being unsheathed came from the foot of the mountain. The Iron Bone disciples led by Li Qingyang drew their weapons and rushed up. Their path was blocked by Yi Xingqian. There were members of the Drizzle Hall on both sides. They rushed up from behind. The members of the hunting team were surrounded in a very short period of time. Draw your weapons. The team leader said in a deep voice. Whoosh! Whoosh! His subordinates drew their swords one after another. Their whole body emitted a beast-like aura. Except for a few members who were suddenly killed by a sneak attack just now, which was a little scary. What kind of battle had the hunting team not seen before? Second brother, take some people and rush up. Kill that pretentious guy. The rest of you, follow me to block the latecomers. Yes. The deputy team leader gathered more than 20 subordinates and rushed up the stone steps. His subordinates were one step ahead. They poured their spiritual energy into their weapons, which flashed with a dazzling white light. A bunch of bastards. Yi Xingqian's gaze was filled with strong disdain. When those people were about to get close to him, he grabbed cold edge with his right hand and unsheathed it with his left. Clang, cold light flashed. The light of the sword flashed. Whoosh! 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 It was very difficult to see how many sword strikes Yi Xingqian made in one breath with the naked eye. But when the light of the sword dissipated, the more than 20 members of the hunting team who were rushing over all stood in place and waved their hands. Thud! Thud! Yi Xingqian walked down step by step from the gap between them. He looked down at the deputy team leader, who was a grade 1 martial master, and said in a cold voice, "Do you know what it feels like to die?" Chapter 227. What was the taste of death? In this regard, Jun Changshao and Yi Xingqian had experienced it. Only those who had truly experienced death could deeply understand how much they loved the world before death. Unfortunately, they were about to lose it. Therefore, Jun Changshao, who had transmigrated, was glad that he was still alive. Even if he had to shoulder a seemingly impossible task, he would encourage himself to face it optimistically. The 20 members of the hunting team who had rushed up first stood in place, experiencing the taste of death. Because of the small sword marks on their necks, although blood did not seep out, their minds and souls were slowly separating from their bodies. This process seemed to be very long, making them extremely reluctant and sentimental, but they could not stop it. They could only personally experience the arrival of death. Plop! Plop! The 20 members of the Black Eagle Hall collapsed to the ground. The sword marks on their necks appeared, and blood began to splatter as the wounds changed. As people of the evil sects, they understood death more than ordinary people and had even been prepared to die. But when this moment really came to them, it turned out that they were really reluctant. Gulp! The deputy leader swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his eyes filled with horror, and his hands trembled involuntarily. 20 of his subordinates were killed in a few breaths by this pretentious man who looked down on him. His strength was really terrifying. Even the hall master would not be able to do that. Not a few breaths, but one breath. Yi Xingqian unsheathed his sword, and with a flash of sword light, they were already dead. 2 words bow though. Swish! The deputy leader made the most correct choice in the shortest time and used the Sect's movement technique to retreat. However, when he turned around, he looked sluggish. As far as his eyes could see, the leader was already fighting with the group of unknown people. It was not a fight. His hunting team members were crazily slaughtered by the group of teenagers who seemed to be only 17 or 18 years old. Especially the leader, who was stronger than him, was beaten to the point that he could not fight back in the face of a teenager. Break! Li Qingyang moved his body sideways, poured spiritual energy into his arm, and instantly used the mountain-splitting palm, which directly hit the blade of the leader. The palm blade gathered power at one point and blasted on the blade, directly and ruthlessly shaking it into 2 halves. Dang dang dang! The team leader retreated several steps. His eyes flashed with disbelief as he looked at his broken saber. That was a common rank weapon given to him by the hall master, but it was actually broken by a young man's palm. Just how strong was he? Puchi! Right at this moment, Long Xiang's overlord spear directly pierced through the chest of one of his subordinates who was not far behind him. Boom! He kicked the corpse away. Looking at the blood-stained spearhead, he murmured, "Killing people is indeed much better than killing ferocious beasts." Puchi! Puchi! On the other side, Su Xiaomua and Li Fei used ghostly leap steps and swung their cold-edged swords at an extremely fast speed. Broken limbs and blood splattered everywhere. The 2 of them had killed assassins and disciples of the Black Eagle Hall, so they could remain calm. Although Zhang Wei and the others had killed the Black Eagle Hall disciples in Death Valley before, it was easy for them to kill the enemies one by one with the double advantage of strength and equipment. No one was born cruel, and no one was born to like killing. Therefore, this killing was still a spiritual experience for the disciples of the Iron Bone. The members of the Drizzle Hall were the most professional when it came to killing. With all kinds of hidden weapons, they killed the members of the hunting team one by one without batting an eyelid. There were about the same number of people on both sides. However, the disciples of the Iron Bone had the upper hand in terms of strength and equipment. Therefore, when they fought together, it was definitely a one-sided massacre. Especially when they gradually adapted to killing for the second time, their state of mind began to transform. Their hands did not tremble, and they were not nervous. When they killed, they were even more ruthless. If I don't kill, others will kill me. Therefore, they could only kill to keep themselves alive. When it came to killing, Jun Changshao had already experienced it in the Black Wind Mountain, so he did not make a move. Instead, he stood on the tree and watched. He was very pleased with the disciples' adaptability after killing for the second time. In the cruel otherworld their martial arts were respected, killing was not their nature, but at least they had to have the awareness to kill to live better. Sect Master. Sect Master. At this moment, Li Tian rushed over with Viper in his arms. He cried and shouted, "Save Brother Snake, save Brother Snake." Seeing that Viper's face was pale after bumping all the way, Jun Changshao hurriedly jumped down, opened his mouth, and threw a healing pill into his mouth. The pill spread in his body. Viper, who was on the verge of death, suddenly opened his eyes. The first thing he said was, "Li Tian, go to hell, you almost killed me." "He's awake, he's awake." Seeing that Brother Snake opened his eyes, Li Tian was wild with joy. He even felt good after being scolded. Swish! Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw the cold-edged sword over. He said, "If you don't kill someone, you'll be sorry for Viper and my healing pill." Li Tian caught the cold sword, and his expression suddenly froze. When he thought of how Brother Snake was hit by a hidden weapon because of him, and how it was still stuck in his body, a murderous intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. Clang! Li Tian pulled out his sword and shouted, "I want to kill." After saying that, he stepped forward and rushed over. Jun Changshao grabbed him by the back of his collar, forcibly turned his body, and pointed to the front. He said, "You're running in the wrong direction." Sect Master. Li Tian said with a bitter face, I'm scared your ass." Viper lay on the ground, pointed at the crowd that was fighting, and shouted angrily, "Go kill them for me, if you can't kill two, you'll double the training when you go back." Hearing the words, "double the training," Li Tian raised his sword and rushed over. Viper said awkwardly, "Sect Master, it's my Drizzle Hall's fault for not teaching properly and cultivating such a cowardly guy." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Killing is not a small matter, it's normal for Li Tian to be afraid." Viper was silent. Thinking back to when he first killed someone at the age of 14, it took him a long time to get over it. Li Luoqiu stood on the tree and said with a smile, "That little guy saved you just now, he ran quite fast." Jun Changshao said, "He's a good seedling, if he trains his courage, he might be a fierce general of your Drizzle Hall. After killing many people, his courage will naturally be trained." Li Luoqiu paused and said, "Viper, after we go back, double the training for him." "Yes." Viper replied. In order to not double the training, Li Tian killed those who were born with courage. If he knew that he couldn't escape in the end, he would definitely cry. Ah! Li Tian rushed over and circled around one of the enemies. Tian Chi, who was fighting with the members of the hunting group and had given him many opportunities to kill, said in an incomparably broken state, "Why don't you kill?" Puchi. The cold-edged sword pierced through that person's body. Blood splashed on Tian Chi's face, making him so angry that he almost fainted. "I've created so many good opportunities for you, but you chose to kill me from an angle where my face was splashed with blood. This is really a pig teammate." Swoosh! He pulled out his sword, and the corpse fell to the ground. Enduring the dizziness caused by circling around, Li Tian stared at the blood-stained sword in a daze, his stomach suddenly churning. Mom! I killed someone. Xiao! 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 Just at this moment, several hidden weapons flew from behind. Ding! 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 Yang Yuhua strode over and blocked it with her iron shield, and said, "Junior brother, I'll leave the hidden weapons to you." Kill again. Li Tian held the blood-stained sword, and for some reason, his hand actually stopped trembling. Ah! Once again, he shouted to boost his courage and charged forward. Swoosh! Swoosh! Hidden weapons came one after another. Li Tian relied on Ghost Leap to dodge, and finally rushed in front of him, cold-edged sword fiercely swept over. Pucci, this sword was infused with all its strength, directly taking away the opponent's head. Chapter 228. Although that member of the hunting team was a 5th-grade martial disciple, he didn't even have the chance to dodge under the high-speed burst and the support of the cold-edged sword. He was fast, so was his sword. This was the result of Li Tiantian's dozens of days of training. Not bad. Jun Changshao smiled with satisfaction. As long as this disciple could overcome his psychological state, he was still worth training. I killed someone again. Looking at the head that fell in the distance, Li Tian was in a daze. It was strange. His originally tense state of mind gradually calmed down after killing the enemies. Thinking about it carefully, it wasn't that scary. Zhang Wei and the others killed the enemies again and again and realized that killing people was much easier than killing berserk beasts. This was because their strength and equipment were too strong, and it was their first time killing someone in Death Valley. Although the members of the hunting team were veterans who had experienced hundreds of battles, they definitely couldn't handle a group of monsters. In a short period of time, more than 80 members of the hunting team were killed. Among them, Yi Xingchen was the most valiant as he killed 20 people with one slash. How about the Iron Bones casualties? Except for Viper, the other disciples were safe and sound. They weren't even injured. Logically speaking, the members of the hunting team were similar to assassins and were good at throwing hidden weapons. Even if they didn't die, they should at least be injured. They threw a lot of hidden weapons. However, what made them collapse was that the group of teenagers could condense a vague barrier around their bodies and easily blocked the hidden weapons. The value of the seal barrier was reflected. Although the Iron Bone disciples hadn't cultivated it to the peak, it was still easy to block the force of 10,000 pounds. They were all covered in frying pans to protect their bodies. This would definitely make the opponents who were good at throwing hidden weapons despair. Damn it! The team leader, who had been entangled by Li Qingyang, saw his subordinates falling one by one. His eyes were filled with rage. However, he also realized that the enemy was strong and wanted to retreat. In the past, he was the one who forced others to retreat. Today, he was the one who wanted to retreat. Swish! The team leader seized the opportunity and dodged Li Qingyang's mountain-splitting palm. He was about to run up the mountain when he saw the deputy team leader's head being cut off. Yi Xingchen held the blood sword and stood behind the headless body. His face was as cold as ever. Hiss! The team leader sucked in a cold breath. More than 20 disciples went to kill that pretentious guy, but in the end, all of them died in front of the stairs. Even the vice-team leader, who was also a grade 1 martial master, was killed. No wonder he dared to block the road by himself. Hey! Li Qingyang's voice came from behind. Don't get distracted. Boom! The mountain-splitting palm landed on the team leader's back, and the powerful force sent him flying. Ta! After landing on the ground, his face was pale, and the meridians in his body were severely damaged. However, a red glow flickered in his eyes. Li Qingyang was rather surprised. Shua. Right at this moment, a blood-red aura emanated from the team leader's body. Then, he charged up the mountain with a red shadow in tow. He did not go to Yi Xingqian's position. Instead, he leaped over 20 meters and landed directly on the mountain wall. Then, like a monkey, he scurried up. So fast? Jun Changshao asked in surprise. Li Luoqiu said, it should be a kind of evil movement technique. The martial techniques cultivated by the orthodox sects were all about progressing step by step, aiming to advance steadily. However, the martial techniques cultivated by the evil sects were mostly about extremes. There were pros and cons. The pros were that the cultivation speed was fast, and the increase in strength was also fast. The cons were that during the cultivation process and even the process of using the technique, one had to pay a corresponding price. For example, the team leader used the evil sect's blood explosion steps. Although it could instantly increase one's speed and jumping ability, the price was to burn one's blood. After using it, one would definitely fall into exhaustion. If one burned too fiercely, they might even die. I've sinned. Jun Changshao said, shoot him down. Yes. Xiao Ziji aimed at the climbing team leader with his 8x scope and predicted his position based on his jumping speed. Then, he pulled the trigger. Whoosh, the bullet burst out, and there was a slight sound of wind breaking. He was about to reach the mountain gate. He was about to be safe. With his blood burning, the team leader's desire to live reached its peak. After a dozen jumps, he landed on the platform at the top of the mountain. Suddenly, a strong aura of death filled the air. The team leader, who had just released his strength, suddenly narrowed his eyes and said in shock, "No, bang." The streamer bullet directly passed through the back of his head, and blood splashed out. When he rushed up, if he continued to escape, Xiao Ziji's bullet might not have hit his head. However, he thought that he was safe and relaxed a little, so he was shot in the head. There was no other way. Plop. The team leader fell straight down. His lifeless eyes were staring at the mountain gate of Black Eagle Hall, which was only 50 meters away. Creak. The closed door opened, and the disciples of Black Eagle Hall rushed out. When they saw the team leader of the hunting team dying on the stone platform at the top of the mountain, their faces changed greatly. Not good. Team leader's son was killed. Leader. After Xiao Ziji fired the shot, he still aimed at the mountain with his 8x scope and said, the people of Black Eagle Hall were alerted. Jun Changshao immediately shouted, let's end this quickly. Yes. The disciples suddenly burst out more power and weapons, and then in a very short time, they killed all the remaining members of the hunting team. At this point, the hunting team named after hunting others was hunted down by Iron Bone Fan. Search them. Jun Changshao said. The disciples quickly looted the bags until they took the space rings and other things, and then they used their body movement skills to retreat. A few minutes later, the deputy leader led more than 300 disciples down the mountain. When he saw the bodies of the hunting team members at the intersection, he was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. Who did this? His angry voice was transmitted in the air. Although Jun Changshao heard it, he had already retreated to a more hidden area with his disciples. He took out his 88 sniper rifle and directly fired 20 shots at the intersection. Bang! 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 The 20 Black Eagle Hall disciples who were targeted, although they were always alert, could not avoid the silent bullets and were finally shot dead on the spot. Seeing this, the deputy leader's face changed. He did not dare to stand there and get angry, and hurriedly led his men back to the sect. Jun Changshao continued to reload the ammunition. After 20 bullets were loaded, the group of Black Eagle Hall people were already a kilometer away and gave up shooting. Swish! After throwing the gun to Xiao Ziji, he looked at the disciples and smiled, how do you feel about this killing trip? Very good. Li Tian spoke first. Get lost. Viper kicked him on the butt and said, I was almost killed by you, and you still have the face to feel good here. Brother Snake. Li Tian covered his butt and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I was too nervous at the beginning and implicated you. Just an apology is enough. Viper said, when we return to the sect, we must double the training to punish you. Ah. Li Tian jumped up and said, Brother Snake, I just killed 2 enemies. Viper said, with Tian Chi's help, that one doesn't count. Plop. Li Tian collapsed on the grass, howling in his heart, this is cheating. Ha ha ha. Seeing that guy's face, the disciples who had just experienced a massacre relaxed and laughed heartily. Chapter 229. The 100 members of the hunting team, including the leader and deputy leader, were all killed in less than half an hour. Oh, no. There was still one survivor. His name was Buttface, and he was in great pain. If he had a cell phone, he would have sent a message to his friends asking for help. His body was completely frozen, like a lifelike ice sculpture. Lu Qianshan was the one who sealed him, and Yang Yuhua was the one who carried him here. Now, he was placed beside a rock, surrounded by iron bone disciples, who were pointing and gossiping. Eldest senior sister is so fierce, she actually sealed a living person in ice. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Being sealed inside, it must be cold, right? It was more than cold. Buttface, who was wrapped in ice, felt as if he had fallen into an extremely cold hell and was suffering indescribable pain. If he had a choice, he would rather be shot in the head or beheaded by a sword than suffer such inhumane torture. It was a pity. He had no choice. Because he had to take full responsibility for every word he said just now. Sect leader. Li Luochio's beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent. This guy's mouth is full of obscenities. If I don't torture him properly, I won't be able to take it. To make Hall Master Li so irritable, it was obvious that Buttface had said a lot of unsightly things when he came down. Jun Changshao said, I'll leave it to you. Swish. Li Luochio waved her hand, and a shiny dagger appeared. Then she went to the ice sculpture and cut its arm. Crack. The ice fell, and there was flesh inside. Crack, crack, crack. Buttface's cut arm was exposed to the outside world. Before he could spew blood, it was sealed again by the cold air. Was it painful? It was super painful. It was so painful that Buttface escaped from the extremely cold hell. The pain was heart-wrenching, and his face was full of pain. Yes, it couldn't change, it was sealed in ice. Swish. 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 Li Luochio waved her dagger wildly, and the ice fell off layer by layer. Lu Qianshan stood at the side, seemingly motionless, but she had been using her cold energy to seal the man's exposed skin with a layer of ice. In front of the 2 women, Buttface was as good as being dismembered. Too cruel. The Iron Bone disciples, who had experienced killing, turned their heads away when they saw this frightening scene. Ling Shui. Li Luochio said, you also come and get a piece. Ah. Oh. Ling Yuanxue took the dagger and went to the ice sculpture with her eyes closed. Then, she turned her small face and waved it. Kaka. A layer of ice wrapped around the meat and fell off piece by piece. In the end, the guy named Buttface was put to death by 1,000 cuts. There was no need to describe how painful the whole process was. In short, just as his companion had said, he really died in the hands of a woman. Yes. His wish came true. To die by 1,000 cuts under the 3 peonies, even becoming a ghost would be a tragedy. The Iron Bone disciples who participated in the killing all killed people, and some killed more than one. In this cruel world, to experience such things was undoubtedly the most normal, and it was also a kind of spiritual experience. The one who changed the most was Li Tian. He lay on the grass, recalling the scene of killing people just now. Although there was still some lingering fear in the beginning, he gradually realized that it was actually not a big deal. Today. Li Tian said to himself, today is the day that I, Li Tian, ascend. Ling Yuanxue also killed people. But she did it with the help of her senior brother. Although she was still very scared, she had unknowingly gained a lot of courage, which would definitely be helpful in the future. Sect leader. Li Luoqiu said, what do we do next? Jun Changshao lay on the stone, a green foxtail in the corner of his mouth, and said, so many disciples have died, anyone with a bit of temper will definitely not be able to resist coming out. Black Eagle Hall. Bang! The tea table was directly shattered by Lai Haisha's palm, and his whole body was filled with terrifying anger and killing intent. He had just ordered the hunting team to take action, and the result was that they all died at the foot of the mountain. It was definitely unacceptable. If they were ordinary disciples, it would not matter. He had spent a lot of resources and effort to cultivate the members of the hunting team. Sect leader. Yang Ji frowned and said, the group that ambushed at the foot of the mountain did not come with good intentions. To be able to kill all the members of the hunting team in such a short time, and even the leader died at the mountain gate, this was definitely not something an ordinary martial cultivator could do. Mr. Yang. Lai Haisha suppressed his anger and said, who dares to provoke the Black Eagle Hall at the foot of the mountain? It's hard to say. Yang Ji had been thinking about the identity of the intruder. But after thinking for a long time, he could not figure out who it was. The vice sect leader said, some time ago, we robbed Thunderbolt Hall's goods, could it be them? Impossible. Yang Ji did not speak, and Lai Haisha denied it first. Although Thunderbolt Hall is a seventh-rate sect like the Black Eagle Hall, they do not have the ability to do so. Could it be? The vice sect leader said with a serious expression, was it done by a sixth-rate sect? Yang Ji shook his head and said, all these years, our targets were all eighth-rate and ninth-rate sects, we have never offended a sixth-rate sect. Lai Haisha said angrily, no matter who did it, they must pay a heavy price for killing our Black Eagle Hall's men. Mr. E. Do you have any good ideas? Let's counterattack. Yang Ji said, according to what I saw at the mountain gate, there are at least 70 to 80 of them. The enemy is in the dark while we are in the light, and they have powerful hidden weapons, we will be at a disadvantage if we attack them head-on. Why don't we wait for nightfall and sneak down from the back of the mountain, make sure that they have not left, and kill them all in one go? Makes sense. Lai Haisha looked at the vice sect leader and said, Sanzi, bring a few of the branch leaders and the agile disciples down from the back of the mountain, find the ambusher and send a signal. Yes. The vice sect leader quickly left. At the foot of the Black Eagle Mountain. Xiao Ziji had been holding the Type 88 sniper rifle, using the 8x scope to observe the Black Eagle Hall's mountain gate. Li Qingyang and the others spread out, paying attention to their surroundings. Jun Changshao sat on a rock and said, they haven't come out for so long, it doesn't seem like the style of the evil sections. Li Luoqiu said, Arshanwei firearms can kill without leaving a trace, they are not idiots, they will not dare to come out directly. Makes sense. Jun Changshao continued to observe the map, then pointed at the outline of the cliff and said, do you think they will come down from here and sneak behind us at night? No way. Li Luoqiu said, the cliff is as smooth as a knife, it is at least a few hundred feet high, one careless fall, even a martial master will be seriously injured. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, if there is only one way out of a sect's headquarters, it is definitely not normal, this place that seems to be the most dangerous place, maybe it is their escape route. Yang Ji was thinking about coming down from the back of the mountain, he was also thinking the same, the two of them were really telepathic. You stay here and guard. Jun Changshao said, I will take people to the back of the mountain to watch. After he finished speaking, he led Xiao Zuiji and the others in a big circle and came to the back of a cliff that was about 1,000 meters high. There was a raging torrent below. If someone fell from above, even if they didn't die from the fall, they would be washed to the ends of the earth. Night came. Head. Xiao Ziji, who had been observing above, whispered, someone is coming down. Jun Changshao leaned over, took the gun, and aimed with the 8x scope. Under the moonlight, he could vaguely see the Black Eagle Hall disciples gathering on the cliff. Then, dozens of people jumped down at the same time. Damn! Looking at the black shadows falling, Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched and said, even if it is bungee jumping, at least tie a rope to the leg. Chapter 230. The Black Eagle Hall disciple did not even tie a rope and jumped off the cliff, which made Jun Changxiao admire him very much. He did not think that these people would jump off without any safety equipment to play with extreme death, so he continued to observe with the 8x scope. Sure enough. When the Black Eagle Hall disciples landed in the air, their hands suddenly spread out and wings similar to feathers appeared. Then they glided diagonally. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. So there are hang gliders. This kind of thing that was common on Earth appeared in another world with a hint of black technology. It was obviously not the first time that the Black Eagle Hall people jumped off the cliff. When they opened the special hang gliders, they skillfully controlled the direction and flew to the opposite flat ground. There are so many birds. How can I not take the opportunity to shoot a few? Jun Changxiao set up the Type 88 sniper rifle, opened the enhanced mode, and locked on to the head of the last person. Whoosh, pulling the trigger, the bullet silently went out and directly penetrated the disciple's head. His mind and body lost connection, and his balance was also lost. He suddenly fell into the river like a plane that had crashed. The torrent was so powerful that the people in front did not realize that their companions had been shot and washed away. They were still concentrating on controlling the two pairs of hang gliders and continued to fly to the flat ground. Whoosh! 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 Jun Changxiao pulled the trigger one after another, killing more than a dozen members, and then saw them fall one by one, drifting away with the current. It was like this guy landed in advance, holding a gun and opening a plug-in to kill people who were still parachuting. The feeling was super cool. Jun Changxiao did not kill all of them. He still had to leave some for his disciples, so he gave up shooting after killing more than a dozen. Ta. The Black Eagle Hall Deputy Hall Leader and several division leaders landed safely one after another. However, when they all landed, they found that more than a dozen people were missing, so they all stared at each other. Deputy Hall Leader. A division leader whispered, could it be that they made a mistake and fell into the river? It's possible. The Deputy Hall Leader said, it doesn't matter. Let's search for the people in the dark first. After finding them, we will send a signal to the Hall Leader and form an encirclement. Deputy Hall Leader. Search for a group of people and send a signal. Forming an encirclement. These key words were all captured by the eavesdropping function of the 8x scope. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, this little trick is quite good. Vice Hall Master. This was a big fish. Jun Changxiao kept his 8x scope locked onto his target. Seeing that they were heading in his direction, he gave the order to his disciples. Swish! Swish! Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others summoned their weapons and shields. There were 23 people on Iron Bone's side. Yi Xingchen and Zhou Hong did not come along. The Black Eagle Hall also had over 20 people. The Vice Hall Master was a Grade 2 Martial Master and the 4 branch leaders were Grade 1 Martial Masters. Without 2 main attackers, it would undoubtedly be a test. However, Jun Changxiao was confident that his disciple would be able to deal with them easily. After all, could these people be stronger than a high-ranked feral? Deputy Hall Master, who the hell is attacking our Black Eagle Hall? On the way, one of the branch masters lowered his voice and said. Another branch master said, even group leader Ho was killed. The other party is not simple. Humph, the vice hall master said coldly, how dare they come to our territory and kill our people? They must be tired of living. Swish. 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 Suddenly, a soft sound was heard. Someone is here. The vice hall master whispered. In an instant, several of his subordinates and more than 10 disciples became alert. However, they narrowed their eyes and observed the surroundings. There was nothing at all. Did they hear wrongly? Swish. 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 The Black Eagle Hall people hurriedly gathered together and carefully observed the surroundings. However, they still did not see anyone. In the dark night, there was the sound of footsteps on the grass, but there was no trace. This was undoubtedly a little creepy. One of the branch leaders whispered, could it be the sound of wind? Impossible. The vice hall master said firmly, it's clearly footsteps. Swish. Suddenly, a sword light flashed in the dark night. The sword light appeared very quickly. When they caught sight of it, it had already disappeared. Plop. The disciple who was walking at the back fell to the ground. His head landed somewhere unknown. Over there. One of the branch leaders caught sight of a figure that was escaping. Swish. 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 In the blink of an eye, several of his subordinates behind him threw all kinds of things over without saying anything. This reaction speed was indeed worthy of someone who frequently killed people and robbed people. Ding! 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 After Su Xiaomao killed one person, he placed the iron shield behind him while escaping, successfully blocking all the hidden weapons. No matter how fast one's reaction speed was, it was useless against a hard shield. Swish. Swish. On the other side, Li Fei used ghost-walking steps to circle behind them. Then, he jumped up and did a cool volley in the air. Swish. A stone of just the right size was shot over in an arc. Its target was none other than the vice hall master. Swish. Swish. The vice hall master was not careless. When he saw a hidden object attacking him, he gathered the spiritual energy in his arms and formed a layer of spiritual energy around his fists. Bang! The stone was directly shattered. The vice hall master took a step back with a shocked expression on his face. That was just an ordinary stone, but it contained such a strong force. How did it do it? After returning to the sect to cultivate for half a month, Li Fei had entered the 8th stage from the 7th stage. Furthermore, he had trained in the training tower. The strength of his golden right foot had reached 25,000 points. It should be known that the strength of an ordinary first-stage martial master was only about 25,000 points. What did that mean? Li Fei, who was only an 8th-stage martial disciple, was comparable to a first-stage martial master. He was already so strong, let alone Su Xiaomao, who had a supreme spiritual root. No wonder he could kill a person silently. Swish. Swish. After the two of them attacked, they did not continue to attack. Instead, they used ghost-walking steps to move around, dazzling the Black Eagle squad. Let's do it, Jun Changshao said in a low voice. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji, who were lurking nearby, quickly rushed over. They had already spread out in advance. Once they took action, they would immediately form an encirclement. This time, Li Qingyang did not use his bare hands. He took out his cold-edged sword, locked onto the vice hall master, and rushed over first. Xiao Ziji clenched his fist and locked onto the strongest of the division leaders. The Black Eagle squad naturally noticed them. Some took out their weapons, while others threw hidden weapons wildly. Unfortunately, under the protection of the solid iron shield and the seal cover, these hidden weapons with the force of tens of thousands of kilograms posed no threat at all. Swish! Li Qingyang rushed over first. He immediately used the 9 overlapping wave sword. Layers of waves spread out and entangled the Vice Hall Master in an instant. On the other side, Xiao Ziji was more direct. He rushed in front of his opponent and directly swept over with his mountain-splitting palm. The division leader sneered and used his sharp sword infused with spiritual power to meet the attack. Even though your palm is powerful, how can it be compared to my sword? Boom! The palm, which was imbued with supreme power, slammed into the sword blade and broke it. The smile on the division leader's face suddenly froze. Bang! Xiao Ziji reached out with his other hand and grabbed the falling broken sword. He leaned his body and took a step forward. The blade flashed with white light and mercilessly slashed at the division leader's neck. Thud! He steadied his body and stood behind. Pucci! The division leader's head flew out. His eyes were filled with shock. It could be seen that even before he died, he was thinking how that guy's palm made of flesh and blood could cut off his sharp sword without any damage. This was because when the strength reached the peak, the palm could be compared to the sharp sword. From the palm to grabbing the broken sword and then to the step forward to cut off the head. Xiao Ziji's movements were really clean and nimble. It could be said to be a textbook one-step kill. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.